All right, shalom to the 12 tribes, all praise to the Most High, Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai. Shalom to all the brothers and sisters that are on here today. Savage Trader, shalom, peace, love, blessings, light. Kingdom Minded 144. I haven't talked to you or heard from you in a while. I hope everything's good. Um, are you still in Houston? If you're looking to get baptized, let me know, because me, this brother, y'all, and some other brothers are gonna be making some moves pretty soon to get a lot of people baptized. So
shalom, everybody, shalom.
So today the lesson, as you can see by the title, is Jacob's trouble, which a lot of people or Christians, Christianity in general calls the tribulation period, right? And we're gonna talk specifically about Jacob's trouble and preparing for Jacob's trouble through the old paths. Okay, I got a lot of questions and comments and stuff on Jacob's trouble on one of the posts that I made and on the old paths in general, right? Layla Amelia, shalom, shalom. So we're going to go ahead and start in Jeremiah 6.
This is Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein.
Khan. So you wanna go ahead and break it down now?
Khan. So this is actually one of the most overlooked commandments that we were given. I know it's not in the Torah, right? But it says, thus saith the Most High. So this is coming out of his own mouth. He told us to stand in the ways and see. He told us to ask for the old paths, right? Where is the good way? He told us to seek for the old paths. And the reason why is because it's going to give us rest for our soul, right? And a lot of people overlook this, not realizing that the old paths are more than just, doing things like growing food and raising animals and all of that, right? It's a lot of things that come with it, and we'll get into all of that, right? But when it says to pursue the old paths, the sole purpose behind it is to give you rest for your soul. A lot of people walk through everyday life, and I just made a post on Instagram yesterday. A lot of folks walk through life not at peace. They don't have rest for their soul. They have a lot of vices. They have a lot of things that they want to do that try to cover it up, or they try to, mask it, right? But real peace hasn't been given to them because they have not sought the old paths. To start off, the first old paths is literally the book, the Bible itself. This is the old paths. If you read it, then everything else will fall in place.
Most definitely. And go ahead and read the first half one more time.
Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls.
Okay, so I think we can all agree, me and this brother definitely agree, I'm on accord with this, but anybody who's in the truth wants peace. Right? So the problem is, though, most people aren't seeking peace, right? So this is Psalm, I'm going to get one precept real quick from the Old Testament and one from the New Testament. Psalm 34:14. Depart from evil and do good, which again, departing from evil is departing from sin, and doing good is following the word. Then it says, seek peace and pursue it. So that's one scripture saying to seek peace. Then this is 1 Peter 3:11. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it. So it says pursue it and ensue it. So if we really desire something, we're gonna seek after it, right? If I'm a man and I can't provide for my household, and I really want to provide for my household, I'm gonna seek a job like my life depends on it, right? So we should be seeking peace. So in Jeremiah 6:16, what does it say is gonna give you peace?
The old paths.
It will not only give you peace, but it's gonna give you rest for your soul, right? And like the brother said, I like that post as well, because he said everybody is looking to all these other things to give them peace, and then we both know, because we've been out in the world before, you don't get peace from all these other things. You think smoking weed's gonna give you peace, but really it just masks it. Yeah. You feel good for a few minutes, and then you need to smoke some more because your high is already going away.
Literally.
Right?
Literally.
Or you think going out clubbing and seeking women, all these nasty harlots of women, is going to give you peace. It's you're always going to have a hole in your life if you're not seeking to follow after the Most High. Right?
It's kind of like a pendulum that swings back and forth, inside that clock. It just goes back and forth, and it never stops. Unless the Most High just breaks the glass and pull you out of it.
Most definitely. So I'm going to go through a few of these responses or to the question, right? The question that I asked on Instagram was, so basically I know a few people have reached out to me and said they don't have Instagram. They only follow me through YouTube. So what I posted on Instagram, the question I asked was if the power was cut off, right? Because you have all these elites saying that an EMP is going to come or that the power grid is going to somehow shut down, which there's many articles that say it should have been replaced decades and decades ago, right? It's all a setup. But basically they said if it was to go down right now, that they've done simulations and only 10% of the 300 and something million people in the United States would survive 9 months. Right? So something I had asked another brother, and I asked a sister not too long ago as well, is think about it like this, right? If the electricity was to go out right now, how much it, like in your house, let's say you stay in your house, let's say you live in a city, and all hell breaks loose because people don't have food, water, whatever the case may be. Let's say you have to stay in your home or your apartment. How much food and water do you have to live off of? Like, how long could you live? And the majority of people, it's like, it's not even a week.
You barely might get 2-3 days.
Right, a couple days. Right? But there's a lot of things that we can do when it comes to seeking the old paths that can add to that chance of survivability, I guess you could say. Right? So again, the question was, if the power was cut off, would you be part of the 10% that survives? Now, 77% said yes.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm not calling nobody bluff, but I'm gonna just let the out go. I ain't gonna say nothing.
So out of 275 people total, okay, out of 275 people, 76% think that they would be able to make it. Now, I'm not gonna say that's not completely not true, but the odds of that being true are slim to none.
Yeah. That's over 100 people.
It's over 100 people. Because this is the thing. They said 90% of people would die, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to say, again, that you wouldn't survive if you said yes, right? But we're going to let the scriptures speak on how to better your chances of surviving, right? So I'm going to start with this one response, and then we'll keep getting scriptures. So this brother said, are you saying I won't make it through if I don't grow food, stock up, etc.? So first of all, I've gotten that many times over the years, right? Go ahead and get Proverbs 22:3 after that. Mm-hmm. Proverbs 22:3. So I'm gonna say it right at the beginning. All right, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that the Most High's hand is shortened and he can't save anybody from any situation. We know that the Most High is all powerful, and he can make miracles happen at any point in time, right? And I talked to another brother not too long ago, and we were both agreeing that in Jacob's trouble is probably gonna be when he's working all types of miracles for his people, right? All types of miracles. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have instructions in the word on every single possible situation that we can think of in life in general, but also in preparing for the times to come. So if we are to take that instruction, it's going to make us wiser.
This is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished.
Go ahead. Do you want to break it down?
So I've done some research, right, into what the word prudent means. The word prudent is used a lot in the Bible, right? And it has different meanings depending on in the context it's used in. In this context right here, right? Prudent means a wise person, but more so it means a sensible person who has care towards the future. All right? So I'm going to read it right here. It says wise or judicious in practical affairs. Practical means real life physical movement. It says discreet or circumspect, meaning wise, sober, careful in providing for the future, provident, a prudent decision. So, if I translate the word prudent to one of those terms, right? Let's say a sensible person or a person that has care towards the future. It means that they see what's about to happen, what's going to happen in the future, right? And they're going to hide themselves from what's coming to the best of their ability. But the people that are simple or brutish or foolish or stupid or lazy or procrastinators, whatever you want to call it, right? It all basically is the same. They're going to see what's coming. They're going to look right past it like it's not even there, and they're going to get punished.
And one argument that I've heard people make many times to me is, well, I don't have the money or the funds to go to the old path or things of that nature. Right?
I hear that a lot.
And the first thing I'll say is, look, and we've talked about this many times. Mm-hmm. Number one, everybody has their own lot, right? Meaning, the way one brother does something is not going to be the way he does something is not going to be exactly how I do it. Yeah. The way the next person does it, even if we're all trying to live the old path, it's not going to be exactly the same. Everyone has their own lot. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, and I know a lot of people, the majority of people that I've talked to, I'll ask them, okay, well, how many times have you eaten out either fast food or a restaurant in the past month or two? And it's like, well, okay, well, do you have a new car?
Yep. What's right? That car payment?
How much is the car? $500 a month? Well, I mean, that could be on some land. How much? What's the cheapest you've seen in the Ozarks?
In the Ozarks, the cheapest price of land?
Yeah.
The cheapest I've seen in the Ozarks so far was like maybe 14,000, 15,000.
Okay, so the payment on that is like 100, 150 a month, and we're talking about what, a couple acres?
Yeah, what number? Like maybe 2, 3 acres.
But still, right? If you have 2 or 3 acres,
you can do a lot with that.
For 15 grand, I guarantee you, if you get a new car, you're paying at least 25, 30 grand for a basic, maybe like a little Toyota Corolla or something.
I know somebody that's paying $900 a month for their car payment.
So what I'm getting at, and I could go into way more things. How often do you buy clothes, jewelry, all these things that are really unnecessary when it comes to preparing for the future? Mm-hmm. If you took all that, imagine if you were prudent and took that and put it towards buying a few chickens, mm-hmm. or getting something pertaining to preparing for the future, whether it be solar, whether it be seeds, whether it be a couple pots. We were just talking about, there's a brother named AZL who does husbandry as well. He probably had like 10 5-gallon.
Yeah, bro be growing. Bro be growing the rain gallon. Or no, it was the
5-gallon, like for paint, right?
Yeah, them 5-gallon buckets, and he was growing some eggplants.
Some eggplants in them, right? And I'm talking about good sized.
Look good, healthy. Look healthy.
Right? So imagine if you didn't have, let's say you had a $200-300 car payment, okay? You could get those buckets. I think he had about 10 of them. They're like $3-4 each. If you got 10 of those for $4 each, that's $40. You got some soil. Let's say you spend another $40. You got some seeds. You're talking about 10 plants that are going to continue to produce food for you, mm-hmm. for less than $100. And if you have a $300 car payment, that means you could get 30 of those every month.
And to even add on to what you're saying, right? I don't remember even how much I spent on chickens, right? I remember at one point I spent $21 a chicken. I raised some of my own baby chicks and stuff, right? But the point of me even having the chickens was so I could have eggs and I can have meat. I have not went to the grocery store and bought eggs in like half a year now. I'm not even joking. It's been a little over half a year and I have not bought eggs at all.
You struggling to eat them all, or
man, I'm having a good problem right now. I can't even eat all the eggs in enough time without some of them going bad. You know what I mean? I'm not even complaining about it. But it's the simple fact, though, that like how you just said, people are out here spending a lot of crazy money on car payments, trying to impress people, clothes, trying to impress people, shoes, jewelry, things that you can't feed yourself, let alone your family with, right? Especially for the times to come, when you can put it into something that's going to give you, something that's going to produce for a long period of time.
Con. And going back to Jeremiah 6:16, you still got it or not?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to read it one more time, and then I'm going to get one more precept, and then we'll move on.
Con, this is Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein.
And that's exactly what's coming to pass right now. The majority of people, if you, like the brother said, the main thing this is talking about, the first and foremost, is following the word. That's the old path, right? You think about it now, I guarantee you, maybe less than 1% of the people you've ever met are actually sincerely striving to follow the Bible, right? So the majority of people have already said, we will not walk in that path spiritually.
Yep.
Right, and then of course it all starts with that, with turning to the Most High. But then when you think about seeking peace and seeking rest for your soul, we have to understand that this precept, which, like the brother said, a lot of people overlook it, especially as it pertains to getting peace. This is Proverbs 19:20.
It says, hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end.
So this is counsel and instruction from the Most High, saying, if you want peace for your soul, rest for your soul, what do you have to do?
Pursue the old paths. It's literally right there, man.
And it says, hear counsel, receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. So when you take that instruction or that counsel and you apply it to your life, as far as seeking the old paths, it makes you wiser.
And this is another precept just to add on to it, right? Because like how we're saying right now, a lot of people claim that they're following the Most High and that they love the Most High and that they want His instruction, right? But if you want His instruction, then whatever it says that says, thus saith the Most High, that means you're going to do it, all right? This is Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 4 through 7, all right? I'm going to break it down. Verse 4 says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon. So he's talking to us.
People in captivity.
Absolutely, the people in captivity. And this is the Most High speaking his own words. Verse 5, build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Verse 6, take ye wives, and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there and not diminished. Verse 7, and seek the peace of the city, whither I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto Yahweh for it, for in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. So this is literally the Most High giving us another commandment to pursue the old paths. He told us literally to build houses so we can dwell in them. He told us to plant gardens so we can eat out of it. He told us to take wives and beget sons and daughters, right? Marry your sons off to the wives, marry the wives off to the sons, right? And the thing about it is, I know my Ak right here, he posts a lot about marriage and family. And I know some people, he showed me before, that some people just don't agree with all that. I don't understand why. There's a lot of people in this time period that don't agree with the fact that marriage and family is important, right? The scriptures clearly say we're supposed to be repairers of the breach. You feel what I'm saying? Lifting up the old foundations, right? So, if the Most High is telling us to have wives, sons, daughters, doesn't that mean family have to be involved? right? And it also says to seek the peace of the city whither I have caused you to be carried away captives. I look at this in two ways, all right? I look at it first as how it's written, where it says seek the peace of the city, right? Which is where we're at, the captivity that we're in. Seek for peace within the city. But then if you also look at what city actually means, if you actually look into what it means, a city is anything that is fenced around or has walls around it. So let's say if I had 30 kids, for example, and I have 10 acres of land and I put a fence around my stuff and build houses on there, then that's considered a city. You feel what I'm saying? So you're supposed to also seek peace within your family, within your vicinity while you're in captivity.
But that's it's crazy because I don't know if you've heard that. I'm pretty sure you've at least heard the doctrine, right? There's people that teach you have to get out. You got to go back to the Holy Land, or you have to go back to Africa at least, right? In order to make it to the kingdom, or in order to be saved, right? And that would completely go against all the verses you just read. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's like in Isaiah, I think it's 11:11 or 11:12. It says that the Most High is going to gather all the outcasts from Israel from the four corners of the earth.
Absolutely.
Right? From the four corners of the earth. So while we're in whatever city, and like the brother said, if you really look into the word, it means an area that is protected, right? And that could be our home, that could be our yard, that could be whatever the case may be. So in that, you are supposed to do exactly what it said, which says, you're building up your family, and what it's really saying is be self-sufficient.
That's very clear cut,
right?
Very clear and cut. If you look at anything in the Bible, right, and if anybody wants to challenge me, and if you can prove me wrong, I will humbly submit to the biblical correction. Okay, but from my understanding and what I have read for the period of time that the Most High has brought me into the truth and a true way of living, I have not found a single point in the Bible of how our people used to live other than agriculturally, right? They grew their own food. They built their own houses. They dug their own wells. They raised their own animals, right? Like it says, as a matter of fact, I'm going to let Yahweh be true in 2 Chronicles. I don't know if you was going to grab that or not.
Nah, go ahead.
Okay, so in 2 Chronicles, let me get to it real quick, right? But literally everything, and I mean absolutely everything, revolves around being agricultural. And a lot of people have the problem of being lazy and being a sluggard, and this is why they don't want to do it. But this is 2 Chronicles chapter 26 and verse 10. Also he built towers, and this is talking about Uzziah, all right? It says, also he built towers in the desert and digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in the low country and in the plains, husbandmen also, and vine dressers in the mountains, and in Carmel, for he loved husbandry.
Nah, I hate husbandry. I'm lazy.
Sirach 7:15 says that, hey, not laborious work, neither husbandry. So I can go ahead and cut that right there.
So husbandry, for those of you who don't know, husbandry is the care or cultivation or breeding of crops and animals. It's managing either food or animals. But also in 1 Corinthians, I believe it says, we are the Most High's husbandry, right? So just as he cultivates or takes care of us, we do the same thing. Like the brother said, if you look all throughout the Torah and after the Torah, Israel was a people of husbandry. That is a huge part of the old paths, right? And I know a lot of people, because again, I'm gonna keep saying it because I know I've gotten that from many people over the last few years, as far as like, well, I have, look at my backyard, it's tiny. Some people even send me pictures like, look, what am I gonna grow here? You'd be surprised at how much, like I said, there's this one brother named AZL. Do you know what his thing is on Instagram?
It's AZL _ something. I know he got a picture of him with a sheep though.
The brother AZL, AZL Yisrael.
I knew it started with a Y.
Okay, AZL Yisrael. And if you see, I mean, he does rows like
he got
acres, right?
He got the whole shebang.
But even then, he still, I believe he posted yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he just had a couple pallets, and it was like 10 of the 5 gallons, and you'd be surprised how much food you could grow in a tenth of an acre.
Real story, man.
So everybody's got to start somewhere, but it's just like there's many parables that talk about it, but the best one is the parables of the talents.
Parable of the talents. Everybody got allotted specifically what they can manage. I was talking to the Ock the other day about this, and I did a lesson on my rib about this. But if you look at it, basically, if you have two halves in a whole, right? If two halves make a whole, I feel like one half is how well you can be a manager, right? And part of that management is if the Most High gives you one talent, what you gonna do with it? If he gives you two talents, what you gonna do with it? If he gives you five, what you gonna do with it? But the most important part of that parable was the fact that it said he gave according to everybody's ability. So if he gives you a tenth of an acre, what you gonna do with it? Are you gonna complain and talk and bury that talent and be like, oh, I can't do nothing, right? Or are you gonna do what AZL did, right? Not necessarily comparing, but are you gonna do something like what he did and try to make the most out of it? Like there's a word I learned, right? This is a new word I learned. It's called economize, right? And the word economize means to maximize the bare minimum. So whatever you have is obviously enough for you in that moment, but you just got to think outside the box and just get creative and start putting your hand to the plow. And then if the Most High sees fit, you know what I'm saying, then that is when you'll get more. If you add value to what was given to you, then you'll get more.
Con. For the sister that asked what verse it was about peace, is Jeremiah 6:16.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to what you said, that's true, because I was just right before we got on this, I was talking to a sister, and a lot of times what I was saying and what we were talking about is a lot of times you'll be doing something, or the Most High will give you an opportunity or put you in a situation that you learn something, or you do something, and then later on you're like, man, if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have experience to do this now. You know what I mean? So we have to take advantage of whatever lot the Most High gave us. Exactly. I'm gonna read this real quick. This is Matthew 25, and I'm gonna start on 20 and 21. Matthew 25 and 20. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. 21. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. So basically, using it pertaining to this, for all the brothers and sisters that have reached out to me and said, well, I don't have the means to do it, or I don't have the space to do it. The first thing is you have to look at your priorities, right? Look at you have to be fiscally responsible, or like the brother said, another word for it is economize. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's funny you said that, because I was just thinking earlier on doing a lesson about economics pertaining to the Bible. Mm-hmm. Like, how going over that, but also going over, when you lend money, you can't have usury. What we were talking about the other day, if you have it in your hand to pay somebody back, do it. That type of. There's so much stuff that I've never really even heard a lesson on economics pertaining to the word, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But coming back to this, it said you were faithful over a little bit, so now I'm going to give you more, right? So it's just like, let's say you have one child and you don't take care of them, but you want 10 children, and of course you want good children, right, that are going to listen to you.
Exactly.
But you got one and you don't even take care of them. It's the same thing with this situation. Let's say you got a little opportunity to do a little bit to prepare, mm-hmm. and you maximize your potential and do as much as you can. You learn the skills that you need to learn, and then the Most High gives you the opportunity to do more.
Absolutely. And I actually got a precept to add on to that too, because I'm loving the fact that brother even bringing that out, because like it might sound cliche to some people, but just being realistic, like it's very, very extremely important to make use with whatever you have. Like if you feel like you don't have enough, just pause, let the emotions run out, take a step back for a moment, and really understand that you do have enough to do something. Right? Just it's like what he said, you got to be fiscally responsible, right? But this is Luke chapter 16. I want you to understand, this is Hamashiach using his own words here. Luke chapter 16 and verse 10 on down. It says, he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. So if it says that he's faithful in that which is the little, he's going to be faithful in much. If you are not trying to be faithful, which we know faith comes with works, right? If you don't actually do something with that little, then you're not going to be like, you can't possibly think that you're going to do good with more. I heard it so many times, and I used to be guilty of this too when I was in the world, but I've heard so many times somebody be like, man, I don't got enough right now, but if I had this right here, like let's say let's say the Most High give you $10, you like, man, I can't do nothing with $10, but if I had $1 million, man, I'd do this, this, and this. You can't even break the 10 off the right way. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you mean you're gonna do this with $1 million, right? If you can't be faithful and prudent and fruitful with the little bit, you damn sure ain't gonna do it with the lot, right? And it says in verse 11, it says, if therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? The unrighteous mammon is the things that we have in this world right now, right? We know what the true riches is. Most high willing, we get to make it in there, right? But we got to obviously prove ourselves right now with the time that we was given.
I'm going to get, this is Hebrews chapter 11 and verse, I'm going to start on 6, right, to go along with what the brother was saying. It says, but without faith, it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? Now I'm going to go back to some of the answers for the question, right? What I had asked, do you think you'll be part of the 10% that survived? If you answered yes, why? Right? So you got one brother, he said faith and works, Most High's will. So if it's the Most High's will, you got the faith and the works. Most High willing, you'll make it through, right? I'm just gonna read off a few of these. Let me see. Where's that other one? First and foremost, faith. My knowledge and wisdom provided by the Most High, and a working hand.
That's what I'm talking about.
So again, it always starts with faith, because you're not going to do something if you don't believe it in the first place, right? But then what are you going to do with that faith? And it's like many times I've given the example on lives or to people, is that if this brother was standing in the street and he had faith, if I told him, hey, there's an 18-wheeler coming down the street, I'm looking with binoculars, right? And I'm like, there's an 18-wheeler coming out, but it's a what are they called? An electric one. You can't hear it.
Yeah, it's real quiet.
Right? And the brother's like, okay, yeah, like he believes me. If he really has faith that it's coming, what is he gonna do?
I'm gonna get out of the way.
He's gonna get out the way. So that's why it said, a prudent man foresees the evil. What's the evil that's gonna come? Jacob's trouble. Yeah. Right? And we're gonna get into in a minute the things that are going to happen in Jacob's trouble. So if you really have faith in the word, in the Bible, right, then you have faith that Jacob's trouble is going to happen. And you're seeing all these things that are happening right now that are leading up to Jacob's trouble. Absolutely. Right? So if you're prudent, it says a prudent man foresees the evil. It doesn't mean he just sees what's coming. It means he's going to prepare for what's coming. Right, and he's gonna hide himself.
Absolutely, you gotta be a manager, man. You literally, it's all about management. Like with the time that we're given, if you see it, are you gonna manage your time properly and do stuff, or are you gonna be the simple one that just be like, I'll do it if I feel like it, or maybe maybe it ain't gonna be that bad.
Maybe it'll work out later.
Maybe it'll work out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I can still chase my college career and come to this later on down the road. You know what I mean?
Con, most definitely. I'm gonna keep going because it goes perfectly along with what he's saying. Verse 7, or I'm gonna read 6 one more time. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. So of course we're not saying it's all works. You're gonna make it through works. That's not what we're saying. You first, of course, have to have faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Verse 7, by faith, Noah, being warned of the Most High, of the things not seen as yet, moved with fear. So if we compare ourselves to Noah, right? And let me say this too. I'm not saying I'm righteous like Noah or something. There's always somebody that's going to try to twist
somebody going to be over righteous.
Someone, exactly. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if we compare ourselves to Noah, all of us, we can do that because Noah was warned of something that he couldn't see yet. We can't see Jacob's trouble. We can't see exactly what's going to happen.
It's a time that has never been seen before.
Exactly. And so it said, what did he do? He moved with fear. It didn't say he was fearful of, oh, I'm going to die. It's saying, okay, the Most High warned me of something. If I don't do what he says to do, I'm in fear of that, right? Because I know you had written that down too. Hebrews 10:31, it says it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the Most High.
Absolutely. I keep it real with you, and I ain't trying to cut you off. But the biggest thing that scares me about what's coming, it's not what's finna happen, but the fact of knowing the Most High can allow anything to happen to you.
Con. And us both being family men, right? We have to, like he said, and like we were talking about, just like Adam was in charge of the garden, right? And he was naming the animals and all of this stuff. We're supposed to take care of our households and not be like Adam, right? What did Adam do? I just studied with a sister about that a couple days ago too. What did Adam do? When did the serpent, who was not a serpent, guys, when did he get to Eve?
When she didn't have no hedge.
When the hedge wasn't there, when Adam wasn't there. So we don't want to be that type of so-called leader, because you're not a leader if you let your family fall, because you're the head, right? If your body's falling, it's because the head ain't doing what it's supposed to do
every time.
So, and it's like the brother Yashamar, when I went to baptize him in San Antonio, and he made a cool comparison, and we're talking about it. When you have a water fountain, right, the layered water fountains, you got to see it like the top one is it's a little piece, right?
Little super small.
Right, but that's where the water comes out of. And we, the head of the household, is that little piece. And everything that comes out of us, because the water is the doctrine, right? It's going to trickle down to the next level, which is the woman, the wife, or the wives, and then to the child or the children. So everything that the husband does or prepares for is going to help the children and the wives, or what he doesn't do or what he doesn't prepare for, it's also gonna, same thing, it's gonna trickle down.
Lack of actions or actions.
So what would have happened if Noah didn't build the ark?
Well, he would have been asked out like everybody else,
and his family would have been too, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna finish that verse, and then I know you got a precept. By faith, Noah, being warned of the Most High of things not seen as yet, just like us, we haven't seen Jacob's trouble yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house. Right? So he moved with fear, meaning physically started preparing the ark. Right now, we don't know how much time we have, right? I was just talking to my old manager too about the crypto thing, and he was saying some crazy stuff because this month they're gonna start releasing the CBDC, right? The central banking digital currency of the U.S. dollar, and y'all watch what's gonna happen to all these other cryptos.
Yeah, they're gonna tank that shit.
It's gonna what I think is gonna happen, and he was saying that's an option. What I think is gonna happen
pump and dump.
Yep, it's gonna pump. It's gonna go up higher than we've ever seen it. A lot of them, like XRP, probably Bitcoin too.
Pump and dump every time.
And then everybody's gonna lose their money. That's what I think, right? But anyways, the point is, Noah prepared an ark to the saving of his house. It doesn't say to save himself. Of course, that's gonna happen too, but to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. So it starts by faith, but again, your faith has to have action behind it. It starts with, without faith it's impossible to please the Most High. But because he had faith, what did he do?
He put work behind it.
And he built the ark, right? So right now, as we see the storm coming, Jacob's trouble, the tribulation, whatever you call it, right? As we see it coming, are you doing something to prepare your ark, right? Or are you wasting your time doing something else? And that's like I always remember that, bro. A couple years ago, I heard following Yeshua say, do you think, or how long do you think Noah would have took to make his ark if he had a bunch of social medias?
Bruh. Bro, that right there would make a huge difference, bro.
Right?
He probably wouldn't even got that junk done in time.
Con. Kingdom Minded 144. See, there's seasons to everything, Gak. So
yeah, it definitely is.
Most High willing, we're gonna be back more doing lessons. Drea, Shalom, Mak. I hope all is well with you. Uzziah Austin,
my guy.
Shalom, Mak. Hope all is well with you.
Shalom.
Princess Lahama, Shalom. Shalom to your household, to your head.
And I got a precept just to add on to the faith and works aspect, right? And this is very, very important. But this is Second Ezra's. All right. If you never opened up a 1611 before, it's in the Apocrypha. Second Ezra's, chapter 9. I'm gonna read verse 1 and 2, and then I'm gonna jump down a few verses. Verse 1. It says, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." Right? And it says, and the reason why it says when you see part of the signs is because, like Paul said, we know in part, we prophesy in part, everything comes in bits and pieces. If you look at Exodus 23 and Deuteronomy chapter 7, the Most High told Israel he wasn't going to give them the land within 1 year. He said he was going to do it by little and by little and by little. The Most High does everything over the course of time. Like the Ak just said, everything has a season to it. It takes time in between, right? But we're going to jump down to verse 7, right? And this is very key. It says, "And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed." So by works and faith. You cannot have faith without works. Well, I correct myself. You can have faith without works, but it's not really faith. But you can't expect to be deemed or justified in the eyes of the Most High and protected by the Most High if you don't have works to back up your faith. So if we do get the opportunity and the blessing to make it through Jacob's trouble alive, it's only going to come by, obviously, his grace and mercy, but through faith and works, according to the scriptures. That's not my mouth. That's according to the scriptures.
Con. If you want to get Sirach, I think it's 15:15. Let me see real quick. Con. Sirach 15:15. Just another precept to go along with that.
Sirach chapter 15 and verse 15. It says, "If thou wilt to keep the commandments and to perform acceptable faithfulness."
Con. So that's what it's all about. And I mean, all throughout the scriptures, you see in the so-called Old Testament, in the Torah, in the Apocrypha, in the New Testament, it's all about faith and works, right? And this is Matthew 21. I mean, so like 24 and 21. It says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." Right? So the time that's coming, the great tribulation, also known as Jacob's trouble, is going to be worse than any time that ever was or any time that will be in the future. So it only makes sense to prepare for the time that's coming.
Absolutely. And this is another precept just to add on to what the brother's saying. Romans chapter 1, verse 17. It says, "For therein is the righteousness of Yahweh revealed from faith to faith. As it is written, the just shall live by faith." So when it says that the Most High's righteousness has been revealed from faith to faith, in context, it was talking about just the word of the Most High, the gospel itself. If you look at the Bible from cover to cover, there's not a single story, not a single person, not a single situation that has ever happened where faith and works hasn't had to been put into play. If you can prove me wrong, I will humbly submit to the correction, but I have not found it anywhere in the Bible. Everything revolves around faith and works. Faith and works. And a big part of that faith and works literally is pursuing the old paths. People overlook it a lot, right? And to even add on to it, right, it's like I said earlier, it starts with you pursuing the old paths by following the Most High's word. Okay, if you truly believe that the Most High's word is true and that these actually will come to pass, if you believe that, then you're going to actually put the work in to apply what the scripture says. Well, what does the scripture say? Does it say pursue the old paths, or does it say to sit on the couch all day and be on social media?
Con.
It says pursue the old paths. So you see how it all intertwines.
Con. And that's the thing. Like the majority of people, I'm not speaking for every single person because I don't know every single person's situation, right? But the majority of people that have reached out to me and said, pertaining to seeking the old paths, is you already know, they already know, they're in their own conscience, like how it says your conscience is seared with a hot iron. You get to that point when you start actually self-examining yourself, as far as like, okay, one question that people do not ever want to answer, right? Okay, so how much time, let's see, go on your Instagram and send me a screenshot of your what is it called, like your time on it.
Yeah,
There's
I think
a specific
I think screen time.
yeah, your time, right, that you've been on Instagram. I'm like, all right, well, let's see how much time you really have, right? And I'm not trying to like poke fun at nobody, but it's just so examining ourselves and what we're putting our time and our efforts into or towards it. Let's say you're on social media for an hour, right? Which I know a lot of people, it's like, I had asked a sister not too long ago, and she was like, probably like an hour. It was over 3 hours.
Hour turns into 5.
Right. It was over 3 hours, and that's the average. Some of it's higher, some's a little lower. But the point I'm making is, you have social media, you have Netflix, you have Hulu and YouTube, and you have people that are in the truth that go out all the time. You have people that
you got dating apps,
right?
video
right.
games.
You got video games. You got all this stuff that just distracts you from doing anything productive, right? Because what the brother was saying earlier is basically our people were productive.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's just reading the scriptures is more productive than being, on your phone doing nothing, or growing food, or working towards being able to be in a better position in one. And there's so many different ways to do that.
Absolutely.
There's so many different, like just to give you an example, right? Let's say you're in Jacob's trouble and you ain't got nothing to drink. We were watching The Walking Dead the other day, right?
Oh man.
It always comes down to we don't got no water.
That's the number one thing they say you're supposed to find in survival too. You gotta go where the water at.
So that's the number one thing, right? Is water, because you could go. It's like they say the rule. They say the rule of three, okay? That you could go 3 weeks without food, but a normal person, if you're healthy, you could go a lot longer.
Yeah.
But a normal person can only go 3 days without water.
Yeah, you're not going to exceed that.
Okay, so just to give you all an example, though, let's say you're on social media for 2 hours, 3 hours. If you put like I know this brother does that, and I have journals as well from the past where you just write down stuff, or in your notes, right? In your notes on your phone even. So one thing that I remember from years and years ago pertaining to water is every single house, well, the majority of, I say more than 90% of houses have a water heater. Okay, so let's say there's no water. Let's say you're in Jacob's trouble and everybody's dying or is dead. Let's say it's Walking Days type of times, right? If you go in someone's house, then the water's cut off. Obviously, they ain't got no water in their home. Guess what? Most people got a 40, 50, sometimes 100-gallon water heater. There's water inside of that. You could filter it and you could drink it, right? Why do I know that? Because I've looked into a bunch of different survival things, right? Around my house, just this field, right?
Yeah.
We got a sugarcane field on the side. We could, if we had to, we would want to.
Yeah.
We could live off of that for months, right? Another thing is, I've been going to like certain walking trails and stuff around here, but also in the back, and also in my own yard. There's wild things that grow that you could literally eat and live off of.
Yeah.
I got parsley growing everywhere that you could eat. Amaranth everywhere that pops up naturally, right? Got the what do they call them? Peach melon vines that are everywhere.
Little mango melons. So taste like cucumbers too.
Right? There's a bunch of what I just learned a few days ago. It's called hackberry. There's all different types of hackberry.
That was the name. I forgot what you were saying. That's the name.
Those orange ones are sugar hackberries, but there's all different types of hackberries. They grow everywhere around here, right? You can also eat dandelions. There's not that many down here because it's so damn hot.
Yeah.
But I'll see them randomly. You could eat that as well. There's so much things that grow wildly, and we were just talking about that before this too, as far as like looking into herbs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Imagine if you put all that time, and that's just one example. There's so many other things you could be doing, right? But there's so many other things, but that's just one example. Imagine if you put an hour a day, 30 minutes a day, even
18 a day.
18, right? 18. It says there's a rule of 18, right? That a lot of people say, and I looked into it. There's scientific studies and stuff like that that say if you do something for 18 minutes a day for one whole year, mm-hmm. you will be better than 90% of people at whatever it is. If it's boxing, if it's reading the Bible, if it's playing basketball, whatever the case may be. If it's looking into herbs, mm-hmm. if it's looking at DIY stuff,
if it's cooking.
18 minutes a day. When you think about it, it's like 18, nah, there's no way. But 18, it's the power of consistency.
Yep.
Right? And it's just like one of my grandmas would say, because I think she just turned 80, I think 88.
Oh, praises.
Around 88, right? But she still goes outside. She waters her plants every day. She trims them and things of that nature.
That's exercise right there.
Right? And she says like, she says it in Spanish, but basically, flowing water or moving water never goes stale. Right? So if you're always moving and stuff like that, it's you're going to stay consistent with it. And the same thing, what I thought of when she was saying that, though, is if you have a rock, right, and you try and cut a rock with water, it's never going to happen. But if you have over days, weeks, months, years, that water trickling down on the same rock, eventually it's going to start.
And it'll erode it.
Right? So it's the same thing. It's just the power of consistency. If 18 minutes a day for a year, you read 18 minutes or studied 18 minutes a day, you're going to be better than 90% of everybody else, because guess what? They're not even doing 8 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right? So that could pertain to what I was just saying, looking for foods and things of that nature, which actually one of the people, let me go back to the questions real quick. One of the people had said, this sister said, she thought she'll make it because I actually am living in the woods right now with no electricity.
That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
That's cool, right? But how many people most people would think you're crazy if you don't have electricity.
They'll think you like a serial killer or something.
They'll think you're in a cult.
Man, if you don't got running water, they'll think you tripping.
But this brother said, if you want to get that real quick, Matthew 19:26. He said, Matthew 19:26. I live a life of fasting. When it comes down to it, I can live off the fruit trees. Now, some people may not have fruit trees around them, but like I just said, there's so much edible things around you. You'll be so surprised at how much edible plants and herbs are around you.
That's very true, because think about this. I had saw this on Instagram maybe 2 years ago. I don't even know if I could find the page now. I think it was called Fruits and Roots or something like that. But you know how many different fruits there are that we don't even know about? I saw like blue bananas and everything, and black apples and all that stuff that I ain't never seen before. So just if there's fruits like that, you can best believe the Most High made a bunch of herbs and edible plants and things we ain't never seen. It's here, we just don't know about it.
And like when I went to that nature park, I like that one, the one I had taken to you when you first came down here. Because now there's an area where it's what does it say? It says like edible. Oh, it says Garden of Eating.
Oh my God!
Instead of Garden of Eden, but the whole little area, it has little signs on each tree, like you can use it for this, you can use it for that. This bush can be used for this.
That's dope.
Right? So, but it's cool because like I went there and looked and stuff, and then I'm like, wait, I got a tree that's a part of the hackberry family. Mm-hmm. And me and my rib earlier, we were trying the little berries, and like it's such a little amount of. It's like the other ones, like it's like almost like a pomegranate.
What color was the ones you got?
The ones on my tree, you know the tree that's right there where I'm digging?
Yeah.
On that one, there's red ones.
I was wondering, because you remember when I sent you that picture of them blue or purple joints? I don't know if those are blueberries or grapes or something like that. Or...
Those are different, but those might be edible as well.
Yeah, I was wondering. I ain't going to try it right now. I'm a little scared. You got to be, definitely got to be circumspect when you're trying this stuff. You know what I'm saying? You might end up like kind of like the Hunger Games when they was eating them poison berries.
That's how I felt about when I went over there too. I would move little pieces of bark and stuff, and I would see little areas like with mushrooms and stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of mushrooms are poisonous though. So,
yeah, I ain't gonna mess with it.
But go ahead.
This is Matthew chapter 19, verse 26. But Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible.
So all things are possible with the Most High when it comes to, and the brother had put that on his response, when it comes to surviving later on.
Absolutely.
And one of the ways to preparing is, like he said, I live a life of fasting, right? If you fast every once in a while, like probably for, I don't know, maybe a week at least. Yeah. I've been doing intermittent fasting. Yeah. It starts with just like, I'm not even hungry, I'm not gonna eat right now.
And you just go the whole day.
And then you just go intermittent fasting. The majority of people do it 16 and 8, meaning 16 hours you don't eat, or you could drink water, right? But you eat all 3 of your meals. Most people eat 3 meals within those 8 hours. So let's say you eat at 8 o'clock, and then you eat at 12 o'clock, and then you eat at 4 o'clock, just to give an example. And then the rest of the time you're fasting, right? And even when you're sleeping, like, you don't even realize. Let's say you sleep 8 hours, you just fasted half of the time.
That's very true. That's why they call it break fast, breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
You're breaking your fast.
You're breaking your fast. And that's why in Babylon, when you think about it, we have the most unhealthy break fast. And to break your fast, right? Man. Most people, what do they eat?
They wake up and eat burger, pizza, pancakes, and all that good stuff.
Eggs, sausage, bacon.
Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong except for the bacon and all that good shit. That's something wrong.
Even if it's turkey bacon, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I learned that you're really supposed to eat fruit when you wake up.
That the best thing to break your fast with is what I've been doing, water, or what I've been doing, because I looked into dates. When you eat a few dates, just look it up. I'm not going to go more off topic, but look up the benefits of eating a couple dates on an empty stomach when you wake up, and then you drink water afterwards. But anyways, like, to break your fast, a lot of people do eggs and sausage, bacon. Let's say it's even turkey bacon, right?
Yeah.
There's so much oil in it, though, and there's also water, right? Oil and water don't mix. So the first thing you're putting in your stomach is something that you can't digest properly. Man. The majority of people.
Yeah.
Right? But anyways, getting back to, I'm going to read a couple more of the responses. One of the brothers said, I really didn't grow up with the latest and greatest, so I'm used to going without technology.
Feel you on that.
And that's cool. And I've talked to my rib, and I've talked to, I believe we've talked about it too, and I've talked to other brothers about it as well. As far as, like, man, that would be cool if nobody had social media.
Yeah.
Right? The only reason I'm on social media is to help spread the word even more. But if not, I would be like, shit, I don't care.
I just literally told my rib that today. I was like, dude, if I literally did not have to be on social media, I would have just literally, like, fell off the face of the earth, bro. But the only reason I'm doing is, like how the ox says, to spread the word. The Most High says, if you know something and you don't blow the trumpet, then the blood's on your hands. So I'm trying to cleanse my hands as much as I can. But when I'm not on that joint, I be off of it.
Con. And it's like Yahushua said too, what good is a lamp if you put it under a bed?
Exactly. I feel like that was my first talent he gave me anyway, you know what I mean? And, you know, was understanding his word. And I used it to start spreading the word, and then, you know, it kind of trickled down from there.
Faithful with a little, right?
Absolutely.
So another sister said, our only goal should be to enter the Most High's kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? And I agree, but I will add to it and say that is the goal. Yeah. But in order to get to that goal, there's things we have to do. There's smaller goals we have to hit down here.
One of them is faith and works. You can't. Hebrews 11:6, man. I like how you pull that verse. It's one of my favorite verses, because if somebody, what do you think the word impossible means? Like, what do you think that word means? Impossible. It means it cannot be done. If Yahushua said nothing's impossible with the Most High, but then it says that it's impossible to please Him if you ain't got this, like, it's kind of clear cut.
And that's why anything is possible with the Most High. So for the brothers and sisters, not just recently, but also in the past, that have said, like, well, I mean, I just can't do it. That's just what you're actually doing. And I mean, it's not intentional. Most of you don't realize is, like, you're shortening the Most High's hand.
Subconsciously.
Right. I'm not saying you're doing it, like, maliciously, purposely, but you're doing it in a way to where you're literally saying, like, nah, the Most High can't make that happen for me. And that's wrong, because anything is possible with the Most High. Right?
I've been guilty of that.
We've all been guilty of that in the past, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it has to happen in order for it to eat at your spirit to be like, okay, you know what? The most I can do is make anything happen.
He gonna
right? Anything.
man, he'll prove it to you, and then I bet money you don't start doubting no more.
So another sister said, or it's the same one actually. Our only goal should be to enter the Most High's kingdom. Money is a tool for this world. So if you want to get Ecclesiastes 7:12.
Yep.
Ecclesiastes 7:12.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 12. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
So wisdom is a defense. If you have wisdom, you're gonna know how to operate in all different situations. Someone's trying to get you out the spirit, and you have wisdom in your head. You're like, you know what? Proverbs 25:28. It says that if I'm letting down my walls and I let this spirit get in, it's not good. I have to rule my spirit, right? If wisdom is a defense and money is a defense, then what should we be using our money to defend against in these times?
The future trials and tribulation.
To be prudent, we know if we believe or we have real faith that Jacob's trouble's coming. We're already seeing, like in other countries, precursors to it, right? A lot of people will say Jacob's trouble is already happening. In a sense, I could say in other countries, if I was living in another country and I was going through some of the things that I see people going through, I would say I would think so as well, right? I just don't think here, since Babylon is the so-called greatest country in the world, it's going to happen here last, right? Or one of the last. So I would definitely say that money is a defense, like the sister said, but we have to understand what we can use it towards specifically. And specifically pertaining to this, it should be the old paths.
I can't even find the verse right now, but basically in Psalms, David literally said that a wise man will guide his affairs with discretion. You know what I mean? So your affairs is your money. You feel what I'm saying? So if you guide it with discretion, that means you being prudent. You're using it for the proper moments, the proper season. You're managing it the proper way. You feel what I'm saying? You know, like basically just to like to add on to what he's saying for what she said though to that question. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's all based on what you do with it. Literally, it's all based on how you manage it. Managing money or managing resources, so to speak. I don't want y'all to think I'm only talking about like finances, but since she was talking about finances, I'm gonna say it. Managing money is more than just saving it and putting it in one area. That's what the servant with the one talent did. He hid it. Managing it is knowing how to fluctuate it and move it and maneuver it in a specific type of way without putting yourself in a hole, without being idle, but also being prudent at the same time. It's a balance with everything.
I agree with that 100%. This is let me see. Oh, Psalm 112 and verse 5. Right? Psalm 112 and 5. It says, a good man showeth favor and lendeth, he will guide his affairs with discretion.
I flip straight over, yeah.
So when a huge part of a man's job as the head, and I've got to ask that question as well, as far as like, well, what do you think about the woman? Like, if she's working, she keeps her own bank account, or she holds her own money, and he's the head though, right? And I'll say this too as well, because then people are gonna say like, I think that's like he would let his rib work. I wouldn't let my rib work under any other man, right? Because you can only be 100% submissive to one. You're only created to be 100% submissive to one man.
That's true.
Right? How are you gonna have a woman going to work? And we talked about this before too. If you have your woman going to work, and she is 8 hours a day, or even part time, 4 hours a day, she's got a boss, and you know the majority of the time the bosses are men. She's got a boss, and he says, "Oh, do this, do that." Oh, yes, sir. And you know she's on her best behavior. Yep. She's being fake nice. Yep. Right? You only got so much energy. And we were talking about that too. It's so hard to be fake nice at work.
At some point in time, it's gonna come out.
It's gonna drain you, right? So the same thing with that situation. I would not personally let my rib work. Now, it does say, people can say, well, Proverbs 31, it says she She makes
Give
her
her
own
the work of
clothes,
her
and
own
she
hands.
right. Okay, but she was working at home.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, her husband was her head, or her boss. You know what I mean? And I'll go as far as even to say this. I agree with you wholeheartedly. My rib does not work a job. You know what I mean? Now I can see in certain scenarios where, you know what I mean, a chick might, you know, you might be courting a chick and then she might already got a job and things like that. But for me specifically in my house, when you become my wife, then that is all my responsibility. You know what I mean? Before then, you know what I mean? That's one thing. But when you come into my house, it's my responsibility because, like how he said, I'm not finna have you going and be submissive to no other person other than me. You feel what I'm saying? That just makes me feel weird if I let you do that.
And you only got so much of that in you. You're gonna come. Imagine you work 8-10 hours, and then you come home, and then you're like, "Well, you're gonna cook," and it's like, "I was working all day.
I was tired. You ain't gonna give me a break." Like, yeah, no.
Right. But another thing is like, because I know certain brothers that their ribs have like little side businesses from home. Maybe they sew clothes or whatever the case may be. That's totally different, right? It's a different scenario.
But everything that Ak is saying, man, like everything pertains to the old paths.
It does, because you think about it too. Like, a woman has to have skills in order to be able to do certain things like that, to bring more profit, or like you were just saying about Proverbs 14:1, to help build up her house.
Absolutely.
Right? She's got to have skills. Again, that comes down to all these things we're talking about is skills with the old path.
What are the skills that most women have today?
Oh, damn.
Just to freak your brain.
Oh.
If we compare the old paths to today's time, what are the skills you think that these women have and that they bring to the table?
Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 5. We get 5 and 14. We start on 14. We'll let the scripture say what kind of skills they got.
Oh, man. This is 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 14. It says, I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully.
So the Most High's word says his will for women is to do what? To marry, to guide the house, guide the children, take care of their children, love their husband, right? You can't have a house and children without a husband. He says, what's the purpose of doing that though? To not give an opportunity to the enemy to be like, she's going off.
See, she tweaking.
It's just like in Job in the first chapter where he went to the Most High and he was like, hey,
does he fear you for nothing?
Job, is because you have a hedge around him. If you take away that hedge, he's gonna curse your name. He's gonna curse you to your face, right? The enemy's like that. He's like, oh, look at Eve over there. She's out in the club, but it says Israelite on her page, right? So what you asked, to answer your question, go ahead and keep reading.
Verse 15. For some are already turned aside after Satan.
So a lot of women are already turned aside after Satan because a lot of females don't want to do what the Most High's will for them is. It's like the brother touched on it earlier. They would literally rather be like, I'm gonna get a career.
Yep.
I'm gonna make my own money. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Get them.
And then maybe after I got like 10, 20, 30 bodies, maybe then I'll settle down.
After I'm 25, 30 years old.
Right. And it's funny you said that, because there's a, I was telling you the other day, there's a Chinese term. I can't remember what it was because it's in Chinese. But there was a woman that was on a podcast, right? I think a brother had sent it to me. I think it was a brother, maybe a sister. And the woman from China was saying there's a certain word, a term in China, and everybody knows it, right? And basically what the term is, the definition of the term is, once you hit 25 or above, if you're not married, you're useless.
As a woman.
As a woman, right? Because you're already past your prime, right? At 25. So that word, and I can't remember what the word is, but I'm sure you could look it up. A word in Chinese for once you hit 25, useless, right? But it's crazy because in so many other cultures, they're raised from a young age to learn how to cook, how to clean, how everything that it says in Titus, the 2nd chapter, where it says you're supposed to learn how to love your children, love your husband, teach them good things. A lot of other cultures are raised like that, right? And look what the brother said.
He said in other countries, a lot of women 25 and up are considered grandmothers. Oh, man, you is not lying, though, bro. That is so true. That is so true.
I remember when I was in middle school, and this was a long time ago. I won't even tell you how long ago that was. I was in middle school, right? And there was an 11-year-old that got pregnant. And the whole everybody, like one of my tias was a teacher at one of the schools at the high school, so she wasn't even at that school, and she knew about it. My mom, everybody heard about it, right? And everybody would like it's chisme, it's
basically being a tattler.
It's gossip, right? But the word gets around so quickly. But anyways, like the brother's saying, in other countries, I'm not saying it's right, but in other countries, you're 12 or you're 13 and you're already having like that's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Right. So the brother's saying 25 plus. Let's say you got a 30-year-old and she's a grandma because she had a baby at 15 and now her daughter's 15 and she had a baby too.
Yep.
Right. And I can even attest to that because I was 17 when I had my first child, and the female that I had her with was 16. You know what I'm saying? So that's not too far off from that as well.
And I just tell y'all me now. I'm not as old as Ock, you know what I'm saying? But he ain't old for real. I'm only 23. And my rib, she 19.
I'm not even 10 years older than you. I'll chill.
I'm just playing with you. But see, my rib only 19. I'm 23. You feel what I'm saying? And we finna have our first kid. You know what I mean? But that's how things is originally supposed to be done when you walk in your purpose. You feel what I'm saying? You initially are, how it says in verse 14, I will therefore that the younger women marry, which is what she did, bear children, which is what she doing, guide the house, which is what she doing. And that right there, by her doing all three of those things, is not going to give the adversary an opportunity to reproach her or speak reproachfully.
But what does this have to do with Jacob's trouble in the old path, dog? Because the old path, guess what? Women back then, their purpose as an Israelite woman, right? Your purpose, what did the Most High create a woman for? To be a helpmeet.
Yep.
Right? I was just studying 2 days ago with the sister talking about that as well. Genesis, in the 2nd chapter, the Most High says it is not good for a man to be alone. It's very important to know. Everybody's like, well, we can't eat pork. We got to work, right? We can't wear mixed fabric. We can't break Sabbath. That's true. That's very true. But guess what? The Most High, the first thing he said wasn't don't eat pork. The first thing he said was it's not good for a man to be alone.
Yeah.
So what was a woman created for?
A woman was created to be a help.
To be a helpmeet and to be the rib of a man.
That's why she came from his body.
So that is actually one of the oldest parts, the oldest parts of the old path. Because that's the first thing the Most High said is not good in the entire Bible.
Yeah. And matter of fact, to add on to it, it's a lucky if I cut you off.
Nah, go ahead.
But to add on to it, right, it's just a verse to go along with it because, like I said, the Ak posts a lot about family, and it's for a specific reason. I've seen brothers literally try to talk down on, like, why are you out here talking about people getting married and all this and this and that? It's the wrong time for that. You're supposed to be focused on these prophecies and all that twang, right?
Let me ask you something real quick. Do you think, because a brother had mentioned this as well, do you think that Yahushua, let's say Yahushua is coming down here, right? The Most High or Yahushua talking to us, and they say, all right, break down Daniel 12. If you break it down, you make it to the kingdom. Do you think that's more important? Do you think it's more likely to be that they come, okay, all right, Brother Kana, break down Daniel 12, or you think they're going to be like, let me see how you ran your household? What do you think is going to be more important?
I think the latter is going to be more important, the second one. And the reason why is because Yahushua even said, when it comes to the good steward, right, talking about blessed is the man that he comes back and finds so doing. The person that he made rule over all his house, right? You're supposed to be taking care of your family, right? And it's a very, very important thing because it's part of the old paths. Like, I have a very holistic way of thinking, right? And if you don't know what holistic means, it means that I pay attention to I look at the bigger picture, but I watch all the small details and how they play a part in that bigger picture.
We're just talking about that, man. Putting the pieces together.
Exactly. Piecing everything together. I think in pictures and I think holistically, right? So Isaiah 58 in verse 12, this is the verse to go along with what he was saying. It says, and they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, And thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. It's a very, very heavy verse because we're talking about the old paths, right? When it says that we're going to build up the waste places, what are the waste places? Well, the waste places are talking about the old paths, the things in the old paths, right? When it says you're going to raise up the foundations of many generations, what is the most commonly used term in today's society? Generational what? Curses, right? So you're going to raise up those foundations so you're not in those curses no more. And then most importantly, it says you're going to be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. Repairing the breach. One of the biggest breaches that happened was the family unit being broken up. From the beginning of time till now. What was the first commandment we were given? Right? The Torah is Genesis through Deuteronomy. The first commandment we were given was be fruitful and multiply. People overlook that though.
And to go back to what he was saying too, the first breach of the family unit again was in the garden, Adam and Eve, right? And what happened? The woman was promised power for eating of that doctrine, even though the scriptures say, obviously the New Testament wasn't written then yet, but the scriptures say, what is it? 1 Corinthians 14:35, I believe. If she's gonna learn anything, she's supposed to learn from her husband. So not only did she eat of that doctrine, she also gave it to Adam to eat of. And that's what happens a lot of days now too, right? We've known of sisters that they want to be with the dude and they're trying to teach him. Or you know what? Yeah, look, this is actually, this scripture means this. Yeah. And she may be breaking it down wrong. Even if she's right, it's out of order.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the point is, that was the first breach. So if we're supposed to be repairers of the breach, and notice it said many generations, you can't have many generations without having father, son, or son, father, grandfather, great grandfather. It starts with a family, right? And like the brother said, he's seen some of it, but there's always people that you shouldn't even be talking about families, and you shouldn't be blah. What you need to concentrate on, just like he said, is the prophecies and blah blah. There is what's that scripture that says, "Be not many masters, or be not masters over many."
Be not masters over many, because you're gonna offend.
You're gonna offend. So my thing is, and just like when Paul was appointing elders everywhere, right? In his time, they were appointing elders. If you actually pay attention to it, it said you set some over the affairs of the church, meaning like, oh, you got a problem in the church. This sister and this brother, they're having marriage problems. You set that one person over them.
Yep.
Oh, you have problems with any specific thing like that. Everybody has their own lot. Again, going back to that, right? Everybody has their own gift of the Holy Spirit. If you read 1 Corinthians 12, it says we're all one body, but there's many different parts of the body. So you got a hand, you got a leg, and then it says like, if I'm a hand, how am I gonna say to the leg, I'm more important than you? It's like, well, I can't even walk around if you. How you gonna use your hand if you can't walk?
And if you ain't got no brain, you can't use none of the functions. Like,
exactly. So we're all a part of the body. You got some brothers that are good with Hebrew. You got some brothers that are good with prophecies. Yeah. You got some brothers that are good with specifically the old past. I know a few brothers like that.
Some with parables and dark sayings. Some are good with teaching. Some are good with,
dreams.
Yeah, some are good with dreams. Some are good with all type of stuff, man.
So my thing is, I'm gonna teach what I have the most experience with. If there's anybody else on here that has more experience in being married with the same person, I've been with my rib for 10 years. Right?
I don't have that experience.
Right? So what am I gonna? Does it make sense for me to be like, all right, well, I learned this prophecy from this brother last week. I'm gonna start teaching just these prophecies that it doesn't make sense, right? We're all different parts of the body. One other thing is, when it comes to the old paths, right? This again, like the brother said, just to reiterate one more time, this is a part of the old path, especially for women. I know you had Isaiah 32:2.
Yeah, Isaiah 32:2.
You want to get that real quick?
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna finish this just to answer your question. So this was 1 Timothy chapter 5, right? It says verse 13 actually. And with all, and this is talking about females, just for context. And with all they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. The brother had asked me, what do you think females are good at nowadays? Everything that was listed here. They're good at being idle. They're good at wandering from house to house. And remember, this brother has his own house. I have my own house. And we're talking about households, right? You got sisters, even in claiming to be in this truth, they go from house to house, brother to brother, right? And even on their phones, they're all in people's businesses, right? It says not only idle, but tattlers and busybodies, speaking things they should not. A lot of sisters, even that claim to be in the truth, they're going house to house. They're talking to this sister. Oh, really? That's what happened? Oh, damn. They go to somebody else. Hey, did you hear this sister? Man, yeah, that happened. So what's going on with you? Oh, really? They go to someone else. Hey, did you know back in the day this happened? Yeah. Even though it was like 10 years ago.
Even though it's not relevant no more?
Right? Even though it was before the truth. Yeah, this happened. Sisters are very, and some men too, right?
Oh, bro, man. Men too. Men more nowadays.
Men too, but I'm just going off of what you said. Yeah, women are very good at that, and they're also good at wasting men's time.
Say it again.
Wasting men and energy.
And before I read this verse, just to like add on to what he was saying, though, you know what I'm saying? It's basically like the old paths never went nowhere. You feel what I'm saying? If you really take a step back and think about it, the old paths never left. They never departed. They never left. What happened was the powers that be caused everybody to become dependent. They caused everybody to think differently, right? They first brought the breach in, which they figured out, okay, the woman was the weaker vessel. Let me go ahead and get this right here so we can go ahead and start to shift the minds of other people, right? That's why the scripture talks about, guarding your heart with all diligence, right? Because if you can get into that, right? Matter of fact, my rib made a really good point. This is on topic too. My rib made a good point the other day. She said, I understand why the tongue is so powerful, because we were studying the power of the tongue, right? And being more mindful of what we say. She said, I understand why the tongue is so powerful and how it pertains to the mind. Because based on what somebody says to you, that is the easiest way to penetrate somebody's mind. Yeah. Right? So to add on to what I was saying was the old paths never left. What happened was they used the power of that to cause people to become dependent and to think otherwise, to believe otherwise, to believe that, it's okay for women to be independent and to want to kill babies and have abortions, to think that it was okay for men to be feminine, or I've heard it at work, people say they want to be in quote unquote in touch with their feminine side. I don't know about you, but do you have a feminine side? I don't even know what the hell that means. I don't know what the hell that means, but I'm not gonna lie to you.
But to add on to that too, when I studied psychology, one thing that they would say was like, just an important thing to know is that, going with the power of the tongue, is we're all of us are visual creatures, right? Like humans in general are visual beings. So when you think of it, and I can't pull a verse to be like, look at this, but it makes perfect sense. We're all visual. So I'm gonna give you all an example. I'm gonna prove it to you real quick. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna say a word. Don't think of what it is. Don't picture in your mind what it is.
I'm gonna try not to. I'm a very. I always think in pictures, bro. My brain's weird.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Red apple.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I did it.
That's okay. So now, going along with what the brother said, or what his rib said, the easiest way to penetrate your heart is through words. So now, let's say you've never seen the Most High, have you?
Nah, never.
No, none of us. Nobody has seen the Most High.
Never.
Right. So now, if somebody puts an image on the TV.
Yep.
Or they just say something. They say something. They don't even have to say it flat. They don't say, go kill your baby. Right? They just say, like,
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood. We are pro-abortion. You're already thinking like, damn, killing babies. It's the picture's already in your head. So you've seen it already. Right? So you have to have true faith in order to still believe in something you haven't seen, which is the Most High. Right? Over all these other wicked things. Mm-hmm. But go ahead on.
So this is Isaiah chapter 32, verse 2. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a cover from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land.
You can break it down, right?
Khan. So I was just talking to the Ak about this verse earlier, all right? Pertaining to the old past, pertaining to Jacob's trouble, all right? This is for all the brothers who over spiritualize everything and don't believe the book is more practical than, just sitting on your butt all day trying to be over spiritual. All right. When it says a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind and a cover, right? And he shall be as rivers of water, something for that person to drink out of. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because he spends all his time reading and not applying? Or do you think it's because he's actually putting physical works in to make himself that kind of person? Right? Obviously, it starts with scripture. You start applying and you start building your spirit up. You gird yourself with the armor of the Most High, right? The breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of faith, or the helmet of salvation, all of that, right? But then you have to also, like Paul said, that which is natural first, then that which is spiritual, okay? In the times to come, how is a man going to be a hiding place? How is he going to be a covering? How is he going to be all of this? Well, that comes from a man actually knowing skills like martial arts, like the Agbi showing me martial art tactics, right? It comes from a man knowing how to protect himself and his family. It comes from a man knowing how to have horticulture skills, which is, gardening and things like that, raising your own animals, knowing skill sets of how to find herbs, like what he said earlier, knowing how to start fires, knowing how to build shelters and stuff like that. I can keep going, right? But when it says all of this, the reason why is because it's not only because he knows scripture. Yes, you have to know scripture. Yes, you have to apply it because wisdom and knowledge is the stability of everything. Wisdom worketh all things. But physicality is what's going to play a major role.
And that would be like, let's say you have a sister that I really believe this. I really believe the scriptures. I believe that I was created to be a rib, but it's just not. I don't want to be married, right? That there's no application, and that's like if you want to get James 2:18, James 2:18, and it's like a brother had said not too long ago, and I kind of cracked up about it because I'm starting to feel that way more and more. There's a lot of brothers that start. I know this because I used to be that brother when I first came in the truth. Okay, I used to be this type of brother, so don't think I'm not speaking from experience. Especially when brothers start coming in the truth, they're newer. They want to be cutting everybody with scriptures.
Yeah.
Right. And I heard a brother say not too long ago. He was like, you know what? I know a good amount of scriptures. You might know more than me, but I'm living out the scriptures more than you. So,
yes, sir.
Which one's more important?
In my personal opinion, living it out, because it says the doers of the word, not the hearers.
Well, go ahead.
This is James chapter 2, verse 18. Yeah, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works.
So in layman's terms, somebody could say, I have faith. What if the brother says, what if I tell him, right, I have faith, Ak? And he's like, okay, well, show me your faith. And I'm like, well, I just have faith, Ak. I have faith. Like, it's up here. It's in my head. It's in my heart, Ak. I feel it in my heart. And then he's like, okay, well, that's cool, but I'm going to show you my faith. I see that 18-wheeler's coming, and you could just, I'm not even going to say nothing.
You can stand there if you want to.
Just watch what I'm doing, right? And just think about it. Like, what does the word say? And look at what I'm doing. Right? So I will show thee my faith by my works. Right? That's very, very important to know and to understand. But going back to Isaiah 32:2, I remember a brother had explained to me years ago, right? He said, like rivers of water in the dry land. Everybody's been to the beach, or majority of people been to the beach, right? You ever stepped in hot sand?
Man, it's just hot.
How bad do you want to get out of it?
Man, immediately. I'm talking about you don't even let 2 seconds go by.
Right, you're running, and as soon as you hit that shade or that water, you just, oh my God, that's such a relief, right?
Yeah, and I also wanted to add something to this verse too. I'm gonna reframe what I said because I don't mean add to the scripture or nothing like that. So nobody is always that one person. Don't take what I said now. All right. But to add on to what we're saying, right, when it comes to Isaiah 32:2 about a man being a cover and all of that, right? You cannot be this man if you're not skilled and faithful. And I say skilled specifically because I think of that verse in Sirach where it talks about
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll let you get it. But there's a verse in Sirach that I'm gonna get, right?
Sirach 1:19.
Con. Where it talks about, being skilled or basically you have to know things, right? You have to know things in this walk. And you only know things by experience. You dig what I'm saying?
Okay, Con. I'll get that one too right after this. So this is Sirach 119. It says, wisdom raineth down skill.
Yep.
The more wisdom you get, the more skills you're going to get, right? Wisdom raineth down skill and knowledge of understanding, and is exalteth them to honor that hold her fast. So when you hold on to wisdom and knowledge and understanding, the Most High is going to rain down skill upon you. He's going to put certain people in your life for certain situations, maybe a job, maybe a brother, maybe a sister around you, in order to help you obtain more skills in all different areas of life.
That is very true. That is 144% true without the shadow of a doubt, right? Skill is something that has to happen. You see what I'm saying? Like, I was guilty of this at one point in time. It's just me being transparent with y'all. When I first came into the knowledge of the truth, and I say that intentionally, right? But when I first came in, I was one of those brothers that over-spiritualized everything. I remember I didn't necessarily understand the importance of practical application to its full extent. You feel what I'm saying? I didn't understand the importance of the skillful act, right? You get so many people that talk about, just knowing scripture. There's nothing wrong with knowing scripture, but the scripture also tells you that there is one that's wise and knows much and teacheth many, right? But it's unprofitable to himself. All right? But if you want to get that verse real quick, because
This is Sirach 34:9. A man that hath traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom. He that hath no experience knoweth little, but he that hath traveled is full of prudence. So the first thing that popped into my head, of course, there's many examples we could give. I know of a sister that was not teaching. She was giving counsel to other sisters that are married. Now, this sister, that's already bad enough, right? She was giving counsel to married sisters on certain situations, and that sister's never been married.
That's already a red flag.
How are you and there's other examples I could give of men too, right? But that's the first thing that popped in my head. A sister, oh yeah, hit me up for marriage counseling. It's like, wait, but you're not. First and foremost is like, how are you going to be teaching?
Yeah, like, right? Why are you trying to teach anybody?
But if we look beyond that, it's like, bro, you are not even, you've never been married. How do you know?
You're not qualified.
Exactly. You're not qualified. That's like the brother walking in Walmart and he sees a homeless person. Hey, let me teach you how to fight. You ever fought before? Nah, I haven't, but I'll teach you how. Like
what? Okay.
Bro, you are not qualified for this position.
You got too much dip on your chip, buddy.
But like it says, he that has much experience will declare wisdom. He that hath no experience knoweth little. So yeah, you may know some scriptures. You may post some scriptures. You may break down some scriptures. But until you actually experience it and live it out, you don't really know it. You may know a little bit, like it says, but you don't really know it.
Absolutely.
Right? That's like, oh, hey, brother, yeah. That I know another brother had used that as an example. Like, yeah, he told me that don't get this gun because it's garbage. And he was like, but I got this gun. I'm really proficient. It's a cheap $400 gun.
Works good though.
But me, I learned how to use it, and I'm proficient with it. And it's like, well, have you ever had that gun? Nah, but I saw some reviews, man. They're horrible. It's like, bro, you have no experience with this. How are you even speaking on the topic? And that's how it is with a lot of people with the scriptures too. When it comes to family, when it comes to anything you could possibly think of,
pursuing the old paths,
you got to ask yourself first: is this person experienced in what they're trying to teach me?
And can they prove that they're experienced in it? So when you look at Isaiah 32:2, right, that's a skillful man. Why do you think logically sit there and think, right? Why would a man be as a hiding place? How can you possibly be a hiding place for those that are under you? You have to have skill for that. Or how can you possibly be a cover from the tempest? The tempest can be considered anything that's like a trial or tribulation or a test or violence or danger, right? How do you get out of that? If you actually want to read the next verse in there, I think he said something along the lines of being in danger and coming out of it because of his skill.
It's I'm gonna read all the way through 11 and 12. When I traveled, I saw many things, and I understand more than I can express. I was oft times in danger of death, yet I was delivered because of these things. Because of what things? Because the wisdom that he had through his experience.
Absolutely. The problem only comes now, bro, because like this new age society, I'm going to use this term because I've heard people use it all the time. Like this new age spiritualism is what they call it. New age spiritualists, right? They basically have shifted so many people's minds into what I call the rapture mindset, like modern Christianity. What did they teach the rapture was? The rapture is when you get to sit in your house on your couch eating chips and watching TV, and then all of a sudden you get beamed up in the sky out of nowhere in the middle of your house. You didn't do anything to prepare. You didn't repent. You didn't change your life or nothing like that. They give you that mindset, not realizing, like how the Ox said before in one of his old videos, right? There ain't no such thing as a rapture, buddy. Get ready for Jacob's trouble.
That rapture is not in the Bible, just for anybody who's not familiar with it.
Absolutely. It's not in the Bible at all. Jacob's trouble is. And we know what Jacob's trouble is through 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 16. If you never read it, I highly advise that you do.
We'll touch on it at the end. So to go along what he said in Isaiah 32:2, it says a man will be a covert from the tempest. If you look up tempest, it actually says storm, but everything he's saying is what it actually means when you think about it. Any type, we all have types of storms in our life, right? It might be financial, it might be spiritual, it might even be physical. I don't know if you remember when that brother that he worked on Sabbath and he ended up breaking his arm.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Right? Yep. But anyways, that happened, and it was a terrible thing in righteousness because he said he ended up in the hospital. He came across my YouTube page, and he started watching videos just over and over and over. But the point is, we all have storms in life, right? And a man is a cover from that storm, because when all hell breaks loose, not only are women gonna be scared, but actually, if you want to get, I think it's Jeremiah 30, either verse 5 or 6. It says men are gonna be in fear. Yeah, like right. They're gonna be like a woman who's about to have a baby. So the brother Uzziah Austin said, "Crazy brother. These brothers today are completely soft."
I detect no lies.
And I'm not saying all of them.
A lot.
But a lot.
A lot of them are. They have the spirit of femaleish. They have no testicular fortitude in today's time. Wise words from the eye. But this is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 5, going down to 7. For thus saith Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child.
So it's saying, ask yourself, do men have children? Do they bear children in their womb?
Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
So he's saying, why am I seeing? Because he's seeing what's going to happen in Jacob's trouble. He said, why am I seeing all these men looking pale, like they're about to give birth?
Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.
So when it says he shall be saved out of it, it's talking about Jacob. It's talking about Israel. And we know, according to Romans, the 9th chapter, 11th chapter, it says not all Israel is actually Israel. It says if the word has taken none effect, you're not Israel. And an effect is obviously spiritual, mental, but it's also physical, right? It has to affect your life. You have to start applying the scriptures. But going back to what he was saying, as far as like a man being a covert in that, so you're gonna have some men that are like that. They're trembling. They don't know what to do. Well, we only got enough food to last till tomorrow. Well, you need to go get some food. I'm not going out there.
I'm scared. I ain't finna do all that. I ain't finna risk my life for it.
Right? Don't you have a gun, or don't you know where you can go get some food?
I don't know. Don't you?
Why don't you go? Right? And that's why the scriptures say a faithful man who can find. Yeah. Because your faith is proved in adversity. Your faith isn't shown when everything's going perfectly fine. Right? Your faith is going to be shown when you got to actually prove you have faith.
Oh, man. That's the hardest part, too. Keep it real with you. I don't care what nobody say. Like, every trial and tribulation that the Most High has put you through, right? whether you pursued the old paths or not, it's supposed to get you ready for Jacob's trouble. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's something I had to remind myself when I first was going through, like my first like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego type of moment. When I went through that, oh my gosh, like the oxygen, like I told him about the whole thing, and he's seen my journey ever since then, right? But the thing about it was what kept me going was obviously the scriptures, but I also had to remind myself that if I can't handle this now, if I can't be patient now, if I can't trust in the Most High right now, I damn sure ain't gonna be able to do it in Jacob's trouble. And if I can't do it in Jacob's trouble, we already doomed. You feel what I'm saying? And at that point in time, I ain't had no wife or nothing like that. I got broken down. I had nothing. I started from scratch. Basically, I started from the dirt all over again, like Adam. That's basically what happened, right? But everything that you go through is literally meant to build your faith up and make you a little bit stronger each time that you go, right? It's like Paul said, in my weakness is when I'm strong. When I'm weak, I am strong. And the reason why you're strong is because that's when the Most High reveals himself to you, is in those moments. That's where you got to be faithful.
Con. If you want to get Isaiah 13, and then we'll just go to 2nd Ezra. If anybody has any other questions, you could ask, and I'll get to them at the end. But we're just going to go over Jacob's trouble, a few verses on Jacob's trouble. But you can get 13.
Verse 9.
You want to start on... Yeah, you could read 9 and then jump to 11.
Bet. This is Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 9. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine.
And that can also go back to in Isaiah, where it says, Isaiah 60 and 2, I believe, where it says darkness is going to cover the earth. It says a gross darkness, right? And that could be, of course, spiritual darkness. We already know that's covering the earth, right? There's little lights here and there from the people that the Most High is giving wisdom to, but for the most part, the whole earth is covered in gross darkness, is what it says, right? And we always know the scriptures are spiritual, but they're also physical. There's always a spiritual and physical counterpart. So as we see the whole earth in spiritual darkness, wouldn't it just be poetically beautiful? Because we know the Most High is like the best director of the best movie ever. Wouldn't it be beautiful if he was just like, the whole earth is covered with spiritual darkness. Let me cover the whole earth with physical darkness and just cut off electricity to the whole earth. Why not?
90%.
And that's what the people are the people that are wicked, that are in charge of the earth, like it says in Job. It says that the whole earth is given into the hand of the wicked. They're letting us know ahead of time that that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Right? Just like a couple years ago, me and the brother Jomar had did a live about how they warned before the whole pandemic. They said, oh yeah, we just did a test. If there was some type of bug to go around, this many people would die. 6 months later, the whole pandemic happened, right? So they're letting us know that this is a real possibility with the whole losing electricity or an EMP attack. Or NASA said a couple weeks ago that there's solar flares that are going to cut off electricity for years, right? Whether you believe that or not, some of y'all know already why we're laughing, but if you believe that or not, they're telling you there's multiple different ways or reasons as to why you may be without electricity. So if the whole world goes without electricity, that darkness is going to be upon the earth.
I believe that's very true. Verse 11, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease.
So think about all the people that are prideful right now. I don't need the Most High, and I don't this, that, and that. I guarantee you, all the electricity gets cut off within a day. You're gonna have the majority of people trying to pray to whatever God they pray to.
Oh yes.
Go ahead.
And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible.
The people aren't gonna be prideful or haughty anymore. Go ahead.
I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir.
And in those days, a real man of the Most High is gonna be more precious than gold. Because let's say you got bars of gold stacked up in your house. but you don't got no food. Maybe you can go barter it, exchange it, right?
If you don't get robbed.
But that's the thing. If you're wicked, you can't get away from the Most High's judgment. Mm-mm. You can't get away. So let's say you take that bar and then someone just robs it and kills you, right? So in that day it says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Back in the days, Solomon would send ships and it would take a whole year. A lot of people believe that Ophir was in Peru, because it took a whole year for them to travel and come back. They would go to Ophir because there was so much gold, and they would take it back to King Solomon. It's saying that a man in those days is going to be more precious than that most precious gold. Why? Because he's a man of wisdom, a man of skill, a man of prudence, a man that was preparing for the old past.
And most importantly, he's covered by the blood of Hamashiach.
Khan. I saw earlier today because you remember that reel where I basically said the family you create is more important than the family you come from?
Yeah.
There was so many people, bro. Nah, that's not true. Nah, you need to repent. Now, so look, think about this for a second. Okay? A couple people said blood's thicker than water. So your blood family, okay. The blood of the covenant of Yahushai, of the Most High, is thicker than the blood that we have with our so-called blood family. Yep. Would you agree with that?
I agree wholeheartedly.
So when Yahushai said in Matthew, I think it's 12 and 50, he said, my family is those that are doing the will of the Most High. That blood is thicker than anything else.
Sure is.
Right? And a man of the Most High is going to know that, especially in the times to come. But go ahead.
Verse 13. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh, or in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger.
So one of the things that Yahushua said in Matthew 24 and Luke 21, one of the end times prophecies he said was there's going to be a lot of earthquakes. Yeah. There's also going to be, like how it says, I believe in Ezra's and Isaiah and other precepts, that it says there's going to be arrows falling or burning arrows falling, right? Those are missiles and bombs and all the types of things that will shake the earth, like it just said here. Go ahead.
And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land.
So it says people are going to be like a deer or like a sheep that doesn't have no owner. Everybody's going to go to their own people, to their own land.
Every beast cleaveth to its light.
Right. And if you see that video that I had posted with the two, they look like Edomite dudes. I don't know if they are, but they look like Edomite dudes talking. They said, they quoted George Carlin, which was, before I came into the truth, I knew about him. If y'all never heard of him, look up some of his comedy. It's funny, but at the same time, there's so much truth in it. And what he was saying was, it's hilarious to him that all these people trust so much in the government and so much in the army and all and the police force. But in those times, imagine if all the electricity went out. You really think they're gonna be like, all right, let me go take care of that brother of y'all.
Shit, no.
Let me make sure my neighborhood is good. Now they're gonna take care of their house, and that's what this is saying. Everyone's gonna turn to their own people, to their own house. Go ahead.
Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword.
Though hand joined in hand, the wicked will not be unpunished. If you're wicked, or you're hand in hand with wicked people in those days, it's saying you are going to die
with them.
Go ahead.
Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. That shit is so good. Oh my
God. This verse actually is the verse that one of, I won't even say, but one of my Ribs family members that used to be in the truth, we read this verse, or we read these verses in a study, and from there she was like, you know what, I'm scared. Like, I actually fear God now.
You should.
Because I have children, and I don't want them to be dashed to pieces in front of my eyes. And I don't want my house to be broken into and spoiled. And I don't want to be ravished, which means raped. So at that point in time, she believed the Bible, but of course she had never got into this topic. But at that point, she literally said, like, that's scary. Like, I fear God because of that.
Hebrews 10:31.
Right. So us as men, especially that are married and have children, or the brother has one on the way, maybe two.
Yeah, I hope it's two.
So
I got faith it's two.
Faith without so we know this, and that should spark fear in you to do the most that you can in order to prepare or be prudent for the times to come, right? You have a precept?
And this literally goes with the exact verse he just pulled. This is Isaiah 66 and verse 4.
Oh,
this is the verse that scared me. I remember I told my biological dad this. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Only reason I said biological is because I got raised by two different men. So, but Isaiah 66 and 4, it says, I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them.
Okay, pause. So now, for one second, everybody who's hearing this, whether it's right now live or later on, right? Think about it. The Most High is saying he's going to bring your fears upon you in Jacob's trouble if you're not following him. Take a second, meditate on what is your biggest fear, right? And I've asked many people this before, right? For some of them, it's getting killed.
Yep.
For some of them, it's seeing someone they love get killed. For some of them, it's my children getting killed, my children getting taken away. For some of them, it's getting raped, men or women. For some of them, it's what if my whole family, we starve, I got to see my kids starve to death.
Some people don't, they might say that, but deep down, they might even fear something worse than that they don't even know of.
But just think about it for a second. He will bring your fears upon you, and he's going to tell you why. Go ahead.
Because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes and chose that in which I delighted not.
When the Most High calls you and you don't answer, there's a payment or a judgment for that, right? And that's a fearful thing. That's a fearful thing. Me and my rib were talking about that the other day. As far as like, it's such a responsibility once the more you learn of the truth, because you're required to do more. Like it says in Luke 12. Well, we'll probably finish with that in Luke 12. But exactly what it's saying. If he calls you, if you're hearing this at one point or another, he called you.
Almost definitely.
Right? But again, many are called and few are chosen. Right?
Don't miss that call.
So it says they chose to do evil before his eyes. Because like it says in Sirach, his eyes are 1,000 times brighter than the sun.
10,000 times.
10,000 times. Salakia. Yeah. I take the correction humbly. 10,000 times brighter than the sun. So you think he's not going to know if you're like, well, yeah, I know I saw that verse, or I heard that verse, or that brother told me this, but maybe later on, or you know what, I don't, you're going to ignore it.
It's so scary, bro. Like it's like what you said earlier, bro. You cannot escape his judgment, bro. If you really get that instilled in your head, that shit should terrify you, bro. Like, you cannot go anywhere and hide from what is coming. What do people do in today's time when they don't want to face a problem? They want to run from it, right? You can't run from this. You can run all you want to, but you ain't gonna get nowhere.
It's like, and that's the oldest trick in the book. What did Adam and Eve do? Or what did Adam do?
Try to go run and hide.
He tried to hide. Yeah. He tried to hide from the Most High.
Try to hide from that. Yeah, you already know what time it is. When you hear that belt coming down the hallway, you try to run and hide. You start flinching and stuff before you get hit.
When Cain killed Abel. What am I, my brother's keeper? I don't know what's going on. You can't hide from the Most High.
Like, come on now. You know good and well he saw that. And it makes it even worse when you try to lie about it.
Most definitely. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to 2nd Ezra. We'll read a couple scriptures in 2nd Ezra pertaining to Jacob's trouble, what's going to happen in Jacob's trouble, and then we'll finish with Luke 12. If you want to start on 15, or actually 13 and 31, and then we'll jump to 15 and 16.
This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, and verse 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending.
So the Most High is talking to Ezra in the visions that he was giving him. He gave him a vision of Yahushua coming down and crowning people. He gave him a vision of Jacob's trouble happening, right? But notice he said first, he said, people are going to fight against people, cities against cities, one place against another, countries against countries, one people against another, nations against nations. And it's crazy because there was this dude, I forgot his name, but he used to be an army lieutenant, right? And he either retired or he resigned because he didn't want to be under Biden. But long story short, they asked him, "Who do you think is gonna? We know you support Trump, but who do you think is gonna be the president?" Right? And you know what he said? He said, "I don't think we make it through the elections next year because I think there's gonna be a civil war before that happens."
I agree. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I would not be surprised. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I would not be surprised.
I don't think it's far fetched.
And what he said was because the first Civil War was what? It was the North against the South. It's obviously not gonna be like that. It will be worse because it's one, like just like it says here, one people against another. You know how much I know this because just in my mom's side of the family, like the majority of them are Democrats. Mm-hmm. There's a couple people in my mom's family who are not anymore. Mm-hmm. Now they're Republican, and that causes so much issue, like hatred and grudging between people just because crazy. Of what they claim as far as like a political party. So you can imagine if that were to happen, you got different political parties everywhere.
It's like gangbanging, bro.
Right? Is it right? You got the Crips and the Bloods,
red and blue.
And in reality, they don't even know that it's just left wing, right wing of the same bird.
Yep, same coin, two sides.
Right? But anyway, so it says they're gonna fight against each other, and this is gonna happen, and it's gonna take time for this to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just like in the book of Isaiah, I believe it's 32. It says, "Many years shall ye women be troubled." Mm-hmm. Right, when it was speaking directly to vain women. But let's go ahead and jump to 15 and 4.
Con. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 4. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness.
So again, going back to everything, we won't go over all of it again, but going back to faithfulness, when you have real faith, what does it bring?
Brings works.
It brings works. Faith without works is dead. You have to perform acceptable faith and works. Go ahead.
Behold, saith Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction.
The sword, the modern day sword, is guns, also bombs and things of that nature. Famine, you know how many people, and that's what the majority of people would die of. Oh, the brother just put, I'm hearing also EMP attack. Con. Major blackout.
It's not far-fetched.
So that's the main thing people are going to die of is famine.
Hunger.
And that's one of the worst ways to die because guess what?
Yeah.
Imagine you got children and you got to see them get skinnier and weaker every day until they finally till their stomach hits their spine and they end up dying.
There was even a verse in the Bible, I can't think off the top of my head, but it says it's better to die with the sword than to die of hunger.
In Lamentations, it only took them a week for them to start eating their dead babies.
And drinking their own blood.
Yep. So it says, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Go ahead.
For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled.
Just like I mentioned earlier, Isaiah 60 and 2, it says, darkness has covered the whole earth. So because of that, that pollution, that spiritual pollution and physical pollution, because you got, all these, you seen all the things about the those, what are they called, drag queens going into schools and things like that.
Bro, my stomach be getting like turned when I be seeing that stuff, bro.
And that's why even before the truth, I was already like, we're homeschooling.
Yeah, like I'm not. I said that a long time. I said I wasn't finna get in the system, bro, in no type of way, shape, or form with my kids, bro. Cause I'm not even finna play around with all that.
That's like Malcolm X said, only a fool would let his enemy teach his children.
I mean, he got a whole point though, literally.
But let's go ahead and jump down to we'll get to the point, 14.
Verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein.
So woe meaning danger, death, destruction to the world. Go ahead.
For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands.
So that's the precept for verse 13 and 31. It said one people fight against another, one nation, one realm. And that realm, that it's talking about, that's the spiritual realm, right? Because we know we could be fighting against, this is something I tell people all the time. You always got to keep in mind, if someone's trying to get you out of the spirit, they're trying to get you upset, you got to understand, it's like it says in Ephesians, we're battling against something spiritual. So you gotta take it in and be like, look, this person's trying to get me out the spirit. It's their spirit, the spirit on them against mine. So if I give in and I say something slick and I make them feel stupid, but they got me out the spirit, so they actually won.
Exactly, and the spirit's stronger than the flesh too, so it make it hard.
Con. But so it says that one people's gonna fight against another, swords in their hands. And if like the brother said, there's a blackout EMP attack, I guarantee you there's gonna be, especially in cities, you're gonna hear guns going off like crazy.
Oh yeah, Chuck over there. Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power.
So do you think that in those days people are going to be listening to, if the president comes out, be somehow, because there's certain what are they called, those radios, like crank radios and stuff like that, that may still work if they're older ones, or if you have like a Faraday cage, for example. Right, if you got an ammo box, look into to making a Faraday cage. Really easy to do. If you have any type of electronics in there, when the EMP goes off, they'll be safe, right? Let's say they somehow get out a radio message like on Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Right? Stay calm. Don't go looting. You think people are going to listen?
Hell no.
Of course, and that's what it's talking about. They're not going to regard the kings or princes, the presidents, the governors, the police, the army. They're not going to listen. The course of their actions is going to be in their own hands, right? Because there's going to be sedition. Sedition is when people are rebelling against authority. Nobody's gonna care about what anybody tells them to do if their family is dying of famine. Go ahead.
A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able.
And I remember when the whole pandemic happened, we lived in a real small town called Indian Lake. It's like maybe 700-800 people, right? And there's only 2 roads going in and out. It's like it's one road, but it goes straight through it. On both sides of the road, when they had that curfew, we came home like 30 minutes before the curfew, maybe 20 minutes before the curfew. They were stopping every single car. And they were like, y'all got to be careful, because if it's past curfew, you're going to get fined the next time. And if you do it multiple times, you can end up in jail.
Damn.
So what this is saying, a man's going to desire to go into a city and won't be able to. It's going to be like that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I actually heard something too. Basically, like, if you in the city already, when that finally happens, you ain't coming out the city. If you out the city, you're gonna be considered in no man's land, and you're gonna have to live off the land at that point. You know what I mean? So it ties in with old paths, like literally.
And think about it this way, like in The Walking Dead, what happened to them when everyone tried to get out the city at the same time?
Oh man, it was a big old roadblock right there. Wasn't nobody moving, and everybody was just trying to go peek and see what was happening. Then they saw helicopters coming, blowing stuff up.
Right, and then a bunch of people get killed.
Yep, everybody dies.
Sitting ducks.
Yep, it was like a graveyard.
Any movie you watch, what's that other movie?
The Army of the Dead.
There's another one with the dude who's trying to get on the plane. He's trying to get the family on the plane, but he has to go back to get medicine or something for his kid.
I don't remember.
You remember that one? But anyway, same thing. They're all stuck on the highway, and that's it. People just start dying. The point is, you're not gonna be able to go city to city, right? Especially if there's no electricity, it's gonna be like Book of Eli. You're not gonna want to go out, right? That's why another reason why the old paths are so important. And just a side note, that's also why, if you haven't been baptized for remission of sins, like it says in Acts 22:16, it says, "Why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized. Wash away thy sins." Right? Why are you tarrying to do it? I highly suggest that you pray about it and hope that the Most High guides you in the right direction in order to get baptized, because the time's coming soon where you're going to desire to go somewhere else, whether it be, oh man, I want to go hear those brothers preach, or whether it be on the internet, or whether it be physically in person, or man, I didn't get baptized, I really feel like I need to, and it might be too late, right?
You might not get a chance. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation.
So there's so much in these two verses right here. You could kind of sum up what would happen if an EMP went out, or let's say the system. You know they're gonna blame somebody else for it, right? Even if it's like they hit a switch. You ever seen that episode on The Simpsons where he accidentally hits a switch?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They've been they've been making fun of people trying to show them
hit the switch,
right, trying to show them what's gonna happen in a joking way. Yeah. But I always think of in what is it in Amos when it says that the Most High will do nothing but He reveals His secrets to the prophets.
Yeah, He reveals it every single time.
So think about it like this: the left hand and the right hand have to play by the same rules. Yep. So if the Most High reveals things to the people that are actually following Him, then the wicked that rules the earth, they have to reveal it as well.
They never tell the whole truth, but they tell you a portion.
But they show, if you have eyes to see, they will tell you. And it's the same thing with the Most High. If you don't have eyes to see, you're not going to get it either. Right?
So it's all fun and games.
So both sides, you're going to see it. So when you look at these two scriptures, 18 and 19, it says, for because of their pride, because pride is what? The beginning
of all sin.
Of all sin.
When one departed from the Most High, their maker.
Right? So because of their sin is what it's really saying. Because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, just like it said in Isaiah 13, right? When it said that your children will be dashed through, your houses are gonna be destroyed, your women are gonna be ravished, and men shall be afraid, just like it said in Jeremiah 30:5-7. It said the day of Jacob's trouble is here, and men are gonna be afraid. They're gonna be pale, right? Men are gonna be afraid. 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, because it comes down to this. And in the world, especially, we know the majority of people ain't trying to follow the word. They're not trying to follow the truth. In the world, if it's like my child's gonna die, or I kill you and take what you have and my child lives, the majority of people are gonna be for their children, for their family, even their friends. Right? So it says a man will have no pity on his neighbor, but they're gonna destroy their houses with the sword. Modern day sword is a gun. Used to pull swords, now they pull guns. And spoil their goods. They're gonna steal what you got. Right? So even me, I'll say I got enough to last for a good amount of time if things were to go out. But at the same time, I ain't gonna tell you how much I got.
Hell no, I'm not gonna tell you shit.
Right? I ain't gonna tell you what booby traps you set up.
Shit, nah, bro. Man, all I'm gonna say is I got a decent amount.
But it's never enough.
It's never gonna ever be enough. So I'm just gonna hope and pray that when the time finally does come, that I have what the Most High want me to have, and that He guides me safely and successfully through the whole thing.
And it says they're gonna spoil your goods, right? But I remember one of my uncles had said a long time ago too. He was like, if somebody takes everything you have and you have some type of skill, like to make money, as far as because we were talking about college back then. I was like, man, I'm not going to college, bro. I went for a short period of time. It's not for me. And he was like, look, what I would recommend is a trade school. You learn a trade. Maybe you go for 6 months. If you lose everything, you lose your house, your family, your car, you still have a trade. You can go out and make money.
Learn something.
Right? If you know plumbing, everybody's got to take a shit.
My granddaddy showed me, because my granddaddy was a plumber. He showed me how to do a whole bunch of stuff. I learned how to do a little bit of electrician. I learned how, you know what I'm saying, do taxes.
Who showed you that?
I learned quite a few things now.
Right? So all those things can't be taken away from you. So in that time, it says that people are going to be spoiling people's goods, right? But if you know how to mix some horse manure with some regular dirt and grow something from it,
sprinkle a little water,
right? And put some DE so to keep the ants out. If you lose everything and you got to go on the run, you're like, oh well, look here, I can use that as fertilizer. I could grow this. I could oh look, we found a watermelon. I know how to dry the seeds, right? And you can grow your own stuff. They can't take skills from you, is what I'm saying. And part of the old past, like we were saying, is having skills. Let's say you lose all your clothes, but you're a sister that knows how to sew skirts. Why, you can make some more. All you got to do is get some fabric, right?
Yeah.
So then it says they'll spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, right? Great tribulation. And the lack of bread, like I said, famine, physical bread, but it's also going to be spiritual bread, because in times of hardship, or anytime there's storms, tempests,
Turmoil.
right? Any type of bad things, tribulation, people are going to need a spiritual, that spiritual bread,
Yep.
which is wisdom from the word. And that's why it says in Amos 8, 11, and 12, there's going to be a famine also that's not of bread, but of hearing the word of the Most High. And that's why it's imperative and it's completely necessary that you get as much of it now and learn the things you need to learn now in order to be better off later, because it's going to be too late. It's like it says in Proverbs chapter 1. They'll seek me early, but it'll be too late. There's an early that's too late.
Absolutely.
And what he means in that time, I was telling my daughters not too long ago, and they were also, well, one of them was surprised, right? Noah was like, "What? You were in jail?" I remember when I was in high school and I ended up in jail, and I got to jail and I got down on my knees and I was like, "Please, God, let me wake up. I'm gonna go to sleep. Let me wake up and this be a dream.
Please let it be a dream."
Right? That's me seeking Him early when I'm in trouble, but it was too late. Yeah. Right? And we've all been in moments like that. Maybe it wasn't jail, but something has happened in your life,
Shit,
right?
I was gonna get evicted one time, bro.
And you know in that moment, that's when you wanna ask for help.
Yo, hard is too, boy. I was crying tears, like I'll never forget, bro. That's when I was calling the name of Jesus. I was like, please, Jesus, oh my gosh. And even when I wasn't in the truth, I still had faith in works, bro. I was thinking about that today before we even hopped on this live, man. I was riding on my way home from work, but I was sitting there, I was in my closet in Alabama, crying my eyes out. I'm up all night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, crying tears, bro, because I don't know what I'm finna do. You know what I mean? And at the time, I was an entrepreneur running a business, but business moved slow. So I wake up in the morning after all that crying and calling upon Jeebus, right? And then next thing you know, right, I ended up putting some works behind it to try to make some money. I ended up making $1,000 within 24 hours. You feel me, to cover my rent and everything from making some sales and stuff like that. And I wasn't selling drugs; it was entrepreneurship and everything. But I made $1,000, most money I made within a 24-hour time frame, paid my rent, and I completely forgot about the Most High after that.
Yep.
That was when I was in the world.
Yep. And that's why, what did Solomon pray for? He said, "Give me 2 things, deny me not."
Yeah, he said, "Give me bread convenient for me, and keep me far away from vanity and lies."
And he
neither give me poverty nor riches. So
he said, "Don't give me too much. Don't give me too little, because if I get too much, I'm gonna forget about you
real quick."
Right?
Real quick.
And he said, "You give me too little, and I'm gonna go out and steal and break your commandments."
Absolutely.
Right? So that's why you gotta learn to be content. Like Paul said, I know how to be abased, and I know how to be put up on high, in the sense of I'm doing good and I'm doing bad. You got to know how to be content with the Most High in whatever season you're going through, because life is all about seasons.
And like that one verse in Sirach said, because there might be a point in time where that season might be a very prosperous season for you, where the Most High does give you an abundance more than what you've expected. Like He might give you an abundance of money, or an abundance of food, or abundance of this and that. But that one verse in Sirach says, the greater thou art, the more humble thou art, and thou shalt find favor, I believe. I think is what it says. But basically saying the higher up you go, the more humble you're going to have to be.
The more humble thyself.
Yep.
Right? And that's why it's like the brother Nabala. To my knowledge, we might have a couple different things that we believe different, but man, I love that brother, because the main thing he preaches or talks about is humility. Man, if you don't have humility, you may be up on high one day, but I guarantee you 100% of the time you're gonna be brought down low.
You're not gonna like when it happens,
right?
Either.
And I always compare that when it comes to humility. That's why I love, because the Most High made His wisdom flows through everything, right? Mm-hmm. That's why I love martial arts, especially jiu-jitsu, because when I first started, I was like, damn, I suck, right? After a few years, I was training 2-3 times a day, so I got good pretty quick, and I got real prideful, right? People would see, I used to fight at flyweight, 125 pounds. Right, that's the small. Well, they have 115 called atom weight, but that's one of the smallest weights, right? So you have these dudes that are 200 pounds and up, and they be coming in there and I'm tapping them out. And I got super prideful, right? And I remember one day my coach, he saw what I was doing and stuff, and I was kind of taking it to people that didn't have as much experience.
Yeah.
And one day he took it to me, and afterwards he just like looked at me and he was like, "You got it?" And I was like, "Bro, you don't gotta say any, you don't gotta say nothing to me. I know exactly what you just showed me, right?" And it's the exact same thing with the Most High. When you get prideful, He's gonna slap you off that pillar
real quick.
He's gonna slap, right? He's gonna slap, and just like the brother said, you are not gonna like it.
I promise, dude. That shit scares me to this day, bro.
So like, it's better. Moral of the story: it's better to be humble than to get humbled.
Yes, be humble in the first place. You ain't got to go through that process,
right? And the more I'll say again, like the brother said, for transparency, when I was first coming into the truth, I was learning from the wrong people, the wrong camps. I won't even say the main two I would learn from. Totally prideful. So me within a year or about a year going out with certain brothers and teaching and things of that nature, I literally went on my YouTube one day and I was like, I'm taking all these videos down because I watched one of them and I could see the pride, not only in what I was saying, that's easy, right? But I could see it on my face, like that pride. And you're teaching, and you're not teaching to fish. And I was just talking to a sister about this a few days ago. There's a lot of people that don't teach to be fishers of men. They teach to go out there and make people feel stupid. And you're not going to bring people into the truth like that.
It's like that one verse in Isaiah. I think it's Isaiah 58, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Isaiah 58, where basically it's talking about he was claiming the counterfeit fast, but he was speaking hypothetically, and he was saying that ye fast for strife and debate. Y'all don't do it specifically to do this. You doing it for strife and debate, and to point the finger and to use the fist of wickedness. It said.
And there's a lot of people. I won't even say brothers, but just people in general that they're over righteous, especially in the sense of they're doing it to make you think that they're righteous. And that's that's total pride, right? And that's why it says in verse 18, for because of their pride, all these things are going to happen, right? But let's go ahead and jump down to 22.
Verse 22. My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them, that shed innocent blood upon earth.
So his hand is not going to spare sinners. 1 John 3:4 says that sin is the transgression of the law. Man, Christians hate that verse.
They don't like that.
And I'll always ask them, okay, well, you don't have to keep the commandments. No, you just try and do good work, be a good person. Like, okay, but can you sin? Oh no, you can't sin. Okay, but what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. So you do have to keep the law, or else you're sinning, right? So he says he's not going to spare sinners. Go ahead and jump to 24.
Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith Yahweh. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children from the power. Defile not my sanctuary.
So them that sin and don't keep his commandments, he's not going to spare you. He's saying, get away from me. You people that aren't keeping the commandments, right? Get away from me, because this is what's going to happen. Go ahead.
For Yahweh knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For Yahweh shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him.
So, if you're sinning, to put it in layman's terms, plain and simple, if you're living a life of sin, and I always tell people too, like, the word it's continual. It doesn't matter if you read the whole Bible 50 times. You're still, every time you read it, you're going to get something else out of it.
Yep.
People will be like, well, where do I start? Where do I focus? And I'm like, okay, this is where you start. Is there a commandment that you've read or something you've read that you know you're living against 99% of the time? 90 at least.
Yep.
Yes, there is. Okay, that's where you start. That's where you start. Because if I show the brother, okay, let me show you a combo walk, and he always has his right hand down. Be like, well, you got to keep your hand up. You got to keep your hand up. You got to keep. My first boxing coach was slap me with the pad. Everybody, right? He'll hit you in the face with the pad every time you put your right hand up or put your right hand down. That's how it is with the Most High too. It's like he's gonna keep hitting you with curses until you do what he says to do. Right? Go ahead. Or actually, let's jump down to, let me see, 41.
Verse 41. Fire and hail and fleeing swords and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great waters.
There's going to be fire. There's going to be hail. There's going to be flooding. Go ahead.
And they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood, and grass of the meadows, and their corn.
Everything's going to be destroyed. We already know there's so many natural disasters happening, right? There was actually a tornado. It's probably like 35 minutes away from here, maybe 30, 35 minutes.
I heard it was something that had came through down.
It was in it's a place called Laguna Heights. It's a real small place, but probably like 35, 45 minutes from here. They were saying there's never been a tornado there before. Why is this happening? Because it's prophesied to happen. All these so-called natural disasters, whether the powers that be are making them happen or whether the Most High is making them happen, he's in control of all things. So
absolutely.
He's still making it happen.
Absolutely.
Right? Go ahead.
Verse 43. And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid.
All these things are going to keep happening. It's going to put people in more fear. Go ahead and jump to 49.
Verse 49. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death.
All these things that we read already, all these plagues. Well, notice the first one is what? Widowhood. In other words, you're with a wicked man. I'm going to kill him. Maybe your biggest fear is being alone. You know how many sisters I've talked to? I talked to over the last 4 or 5 years of counseling that, well, I know he's not completely in the truth or he's not following the truth, but I'm just scared of being alone.
That's why so many of them make the wrong choice being with the wrong man.
Exactly. And then he dumps them, they get with another wrong man and another wrong man. And then
pendulum swinging back and forth.
But the first plague it says is widowhood. Then it says poverty, famine, the sword, pestilence, right? Which, did you hear about those, was it crickets or locusts?
Yeah, I think it was crickets. It was crickets at first. I think locusts came after, but it was crickets.
Destroying whole cities of crops or whole towns of crops.
Tearing everything up.
Right? Let's go ahead and jump to 57.
Verse 57. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field.
Your children will die of hunger. Nobody wants to see their child starve to death. And if you don't have children, you don't want to starve to death.
Hell no.
And some people may say, "Oh, it's better than drowning or getting stabbed."
Shit, I'd rather drown than
fire.
One of my biggest fears is drowning, bro. But I would rather drown than starve to death.
Me too. Think about it for a second. Most of y'all probably have never fasted for 24 hours or more than 24 hours.
Shit, I grew up from a very humble beginning, so that shit is just common to me. But you're right, though. A lot of people have not.
So imagine next time you get that craving to go grab something from the fridge or the pantry or order, what is it called? Not Uber.
I'll say pizza.
No, order. What's that one service?
DoorDash.
DoorDash, right? Next time you're thinking of doing that, go a few hours, right? When you're hungry, and then try and go a few more.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you do not want this to happen to you, to die of hunger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Go ahead.
They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water.
People are gonna turn into cannibals, just like in Lamentations when there was a famine.
Yep.
They turned into cannibals. And there's no new thing under the sun, like Ecclesiastes 1:9 says. The same type of things are going to happen. But remember, Yahushua said that this time of Jacob's trouble is going to be worse than before or worse than will ever be. So it's going to be that, but taken to another level.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Let's go ahead and jump to verse 16. Chapter 16, Salakia. Chapter 16, and let me see. A lot of these are just reiterating what it said. Let's read 18.
Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 18.
Oh, Salakia, 17.
17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days?
So Ezra was seeing this vision. The Most High gave him the vision of Jacob's trouble. And he was saying, woe is me, woe is... He was saying, I'm going to be destroyed. I'm going to be destroyed. Who's going to deliver me in those days? He was seeing these things. Imagine seeing these things. You ever had a dream out where it seems so real?
That nuclear bomb dream.
Right?
The nuclear bomb cloud literally caught my ass and everything went pitch black. I literally felt my soul leaving my body, bro, and I woke up sweating bullets. Like, I've never sweated that hard in my life, bro. I woke up out of my sleep and my heart was like pounding in my fucking chest, and I literally rolled over and cried to the Most High, like, please do not let that be my end. I said, I don't know what you're trying to show me right now, but please help me get right. And that was the beginning of my whole journey.
Calm. I've been telling that a lot to people. That verse how it says that the fear of the Most High was with the faithful in the womb. Mm-hmm. So some people have the fear of the Most High, some people don't. And sometimes the Most High's got to remind you.
I got
to remind you because you're forgetting about that fear.
Yeah, don't mess with me, buddy. I can give it to you quick.
So there's dreams that you have that seem so real. They may be only in your mind, in your heart, but it actually physically affects you because that's how real it feels. You wake up sweating. This is what was happening to Ezra when he got this vision. He said, woe is me, woe is me. Who's going to deliver? Who's going to save me in those days? Go ahead.
The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death.
Great death. Remember they said 90% of the United States of people would die if there was a blackout?
Like a wave to a drop. The beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment.
So all these things are happening. Famine, plague, tribulation, mourning, great death, wars, evils, fears. All these things are happening, and they're sent. They're not just happening. They're sent by who? By the Most High. As scourges for amendment. A scourge is when, back in the days when they would whip you. Right? And sometimes they would put either shells or something sharp on the whip. Damn. And so when they whipped you, it's definitely going to cut you. It's going to rip you open, right? Yeah. So it's saying the Most High is sending these scourges for amendment. It's like, oh, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, those are commandments. Those are rules, laws. So he's saying, I'm going to punish you for breaking my laws. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges.
Haven't you ever came across somebody, maybe you have, I know I've came across at least a few, where I've told them something specifically, not because it's me, but because I know what the word says, and they come to me for counsel, and I say, look, this is why. The Most High says there's a punishment for you doing this, and you're doing this. Mm-hmm. And they keep doing it. And they wonder, well, why is this still happening to me? It says, but for all these things, they won't turn from their wickedness or be mindful of the punishments that the Most High is giving them. See, they don't really have faith and believe this is happening because I'm going against what he says.
Yep.
Right? Again, going back to faith, we're talking about real faith and fake faith. Real faith causes action. He may say, yeah, Ak, I know there's a car coming. I got faith in what you're telling me. And he stays in the road. Well, he's going to get hit by the car. Because real faith has to have actions. Go ahead.
Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth. Sword, famine, and great confusion.
I heard someone not too long ago say, look, gas went down another like 25 cents. I think things are going in the right direction. Yeah. But guess what the Most High says? He says when that starts happening, even more evils are going to start growing. More sword, more famine, more great confusion. Right? Go ahead.
For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So
many people are going to die because they don't have nothing to eat. And then some people, maybe you got, because there's I don't know if it's still on Netflix, there's that show Preppers. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
I've seen little bits and pieces. There's a lot of people that are prepping for something, right? But if you don't have the Most High as your number one priority, you really think he's going to save you?
all that prepping ain't gonna do you no good if you ain't got the Most High as your number one.
You're prepping to have some food and die, and someone's gonna come steal it from you.
Yep.
Right? Because he says there's gonna be people that escape the hunger, but the sword is gonna destroy them. Again, we've read a bunch of precepts that say, if you're not following the Most High, you can't escape His judgment. Go ahead.
And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down.
So dead are going to be cast out as dung. Just like any of y'all seen The Walking Dead, they just started throwing bodies out. They couldn't even bury them. They're like, oh, I guess just we'll burn them.
Let's burn them, man. It's
and
too
then
much.
And then at one point, a few points in time, they couldn't even burn them. They're just throwing the bodies out like dung, right? Now imagine for a second too, because earlier I was using that liquid fertilizer, the compost tea. Mm-hmm. Man, it's like that smell gets worse every day.
That liquid gold, man.
It gets worse every day. But imagine how bad that would smell.
It's a bunch of bodies
cast out as dung.
That's gross.
And imagine all the diseases and things, because remember he said he's going to send pestilences too. Pestilence can be a disease from all those bodies, right? Go ahead and jump down to 28.
Verse 28. For of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of rocks.
So it says of a city there shall be 10 left. Now that doesn't mean every single city is going to be 10, but it's giving you an example that there is not going to be very many people that actually make it. Just like the brother said in 2nd Ezra, I believe it's chapter 9, it says it's going to be like a wave to a drop. Mm-hmm. The wave of people dying and a drop that the Most High preserves in those days, right? Go ahead and read 31.
Verse 31. Even so, in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. Sheesh.
Now, the first thing I think of every time I read that is martial law.
Yeah, I think right? The same thing.
People searching through houses with the sword. They're going to come in with their modern day swords with guns, searching through houses. And it says there's going to be 3 or 4 left of them coming with the sword. I can't remember what movie it was.
It was an animated movie?
No. There was a movie. It was a real movie, but it was like the martial law troop. They were like, check the attic. And he goes up in the attic and he opens it. And there's a dude in there with his family, and he points a gun right at the soldier's head, right?
And told him.
And he said, let us go, and I'm gonna let you live. And the soldier went back down, and they were like, anything? And he was like, clear. That's something that the Most High can make happen.
Yeah.
If you're in he's gonna preserve you from the said perils, like we read earlier. But if you're not, that soldier's he's gonna look at you, and he's gonna and he's gonna go back down, shoot the roof, shoot the attic, and the Most High can make that happen because the Most High is in control of all things.
Yeah.
Right. But go ahead and jump to 33.
Verse 33. The virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms, and women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers.
So this is why, like when we read in 1 Timothy 5, it said, I will that the younger women, what?
Marry and bear children and guide the house.
Marry. And you know what? The most unprudent thing I've heard, and I've heard multiple sisters tell me this, and I've seen other sisters post about it. Well, in Jacob's trouble, I'll find a man.
Bullshit.
In Jacob's trouble, right? In Jacob's trouble.
You're going to find a little boy.
In Jacob's trouble, the majority of people, I'm not saying that's not going to happen for nobody, right? It could have, the Most High can make that circumstance happen. In my understanding, that's going to be very rare. But a prudent woman is not going to wait for the time when the word says, oh, you can be killed or stolen from or ravished. She's gonna start preparing before, just like a man. Yep. Right? Just like and like I said, I always compare things to martial arts. I remember at one of the gyms that I trained at years ago, there was this one dude, he according to him, he was a street fighter with like 50 or 60-0, right? But everybody will beat up on him in the gym. But anyways, there was a bunch of us fighting. It was like me and three other dudes, and then our coach. We were all fighting on the same show, right? So we're all training 2 times, sometimes 3 times a day. And this dude begged the owner of the gym because he was the one throwing the event. He was like, "Yeah, man, I'm training really hard. Please just give me a fight. It'll be my first pro fight. Yada yada yada." Right? So the dude says, "All right." He gets him somebody. He matches him up with somebody, and the dude shows up like once a week, if he's lucky, once or twice a week. And we're all thinking like, "Man, what is this dude do? He is not." And he would come in and he'd be like, "Yeah, I trained 3 times yesterday, and I've been doing this and that." And we're like, "Bro, you literally had it's the." At that point in time, it was the nicest MMA gym in this whole area, like for probably 3-4 hours away, right? And the point is, he did not prepare, and guess what happened?
Got beat.
First round knockout. That's what happened. Why? Because he wasn't prudent, like we read in Proverbs 22:3.
Yep.
If you have the opportunity to be prudent in any situation, then you should take that opportunity and run with it as best as you can.
With the utmost seriousness.
Right? So the same thing coming back, that's a real world example. But going back to this 33, it says, "The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms." In that time, there's certain sisters I've talked to. Um, actually, in the last probably 3 to 6 months, I've heard or counseled with 3 different sisters that are virgins. One of them was 19, one of them was like 20, I think 21, 22, and one of them's 29.
Damn. Do you feel like the 29-year-old still got value then?
I mean, I'm not even gonna answer that question. We ain't gonna go off topic, guys. You're gonna take me. We're gonna get 10 precepts.
I got you.
Anyways, we're gonna go into that Chinese girl. Anyways, the point is, the first thing I said was, you know what? All praise to the Most High, because that's so rare in this day and age, especially if you're going through high school and you pass through high school and you still say the virgin. Man, I applaud that, because probably more than 99% of females are not like that. But at the same time, I guarantee you, in Jacob's trouble, if you don't have a man to be a hedge of protection, to be a covert from the tempest, to be more valuable than fine gold, and to lead the way, because a man's supposed to be a head. The head controls the body. In that day, you are going to think, or not think, you're going to know that you should have done or searched or been more prudent as to find one.
And there's no pain like the pain of regret.
Calm. Man, I'll tell you about that later.
I was just talking to the Ock last night about something I regretted.
I'm going to tell you something later. So, the virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, crying. That's what mourning means. And women shall mourn, having no husbands. Because according to the scriptures, 1 Peter chapter 3, the woman's the weaker vessel. So if the man is going to be in fear and trembling, and his face is going to be pale because he's so scared of what's happening, imagine women.
Oh, she's going to be even worse.
Right? Imagine that.
She might have a heart attack.
So go ahead and read, or keep going.
Verse 34. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine.
So let's say you're not following the Most High. Let's say you got a boyfriend, or you're courting, or you have a husband. It says these men are going to be destroyed in wars, and wars can be on a large scale. Wars can be, civil war, just people going at it here in your own country or wherever you're at, right? It says daughters will mourn, having no helpers. This is going to be little girls that their fathers weren't following after the Most High, and they get put to death, and they're on their own now. Right? That's a sad thing to think about.
That's very true, though.
But it's giving you an example of all of them: virgins, bridegrooms, and daughters. Go ahead.
Hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of Yahweh. Behold the word of Yahweh. Behold the word of Yahweh. Receive it. Believe not the gods of whom Yahweh spake.
So don't believe in all these other gods. Guess what? The majority of people in the world, their God is themselves.
True story.
Go ahead.
Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son within 2 or 3 hours of her birth. Great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment.
The Most High is letting you know things are not going to get better. I've heard a lot of people say, well, things are looking up. Things are going to get better. I have faith that things are going to get better. The Most High has something else to say about that. He's saying just like if a woman is 9 months giving birth, or she's about to give birth, her pains do not get better. As the child's getting closer to coming out, it gets worse and more extreme. And that's exactly how these plagues are going to be. Go ahead.
Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side.
On every side, there's no way that you could escape. Because there's certain sisters, and I've seen brothers too, but I'm thinking of a specific sister that was saying, yeah, if you're in Babylon or if you're anywhere else, if you're not in Africa, you're not going to make it, right? These plagues are going to come upon the whole earth on every side. Just like the Most High said, he's going to save people from the four corners of the earth. Well, guess what? The plagues are going to be in the four corners of the earth as well.
Absolutely. O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be as pilgrims upon the earth.
Khan. So this is another thing to keep in mind. You could be one of those people that you prepare, and let's say you stock up, your whole house is full of food. But then the Most High tests your faith. Man. And then you got to leave, and you got to be like a pilgrim on the earth. And you just got to go and scavenge, and you got to go place to place to place. Right?
You don't know how long you got to do it neither.
And that could happen, but guess what? The Most High, when a man's ways please the Most High, not only will his enemies be at peace with him, but the Most High will start to give you the desires of your heart. Yep. So if you're putting in works for the Most High and you're doing it for him, right? He could be like in Psalm 91 where it says, no evil is going to come upon your abode or your home, right? He could, and again, going back to what I was saying about the Most High's hand isn't slack. Would you say, Ak, that the Most High has the power to put an invisible cloak over your whole home and nobody ever comes to your place?
144%. He's omnipotent. I mean, he can do whatever he wants.
He can do anything, right? Anything. So you may have to be as a pilgrim. And that's why, again, you don't put your faith into the physical things, but at the same time, it's a prudent thing. Just to give you an example, right? Let's say you're going to buy a $200 chain. Would it be more prudent to buy a $200 chain, or would it be more prudent to get $200 worth of water?
$200 worth of water? That's 200 gallons, bro.
Right? That's almost 200 gallons.
Just about.
So would it be more prudent to get a brand new car with a payment 400, 500, 600, 700? How much did you say? You knew one?
My rib's mom pays $9 something for her Challenger.
So anybody that gets a new car, you got to really weigh in the balance. Does it make sense to pay that much on a new vehicle? I've never had a new car.
Shit, my first time getting one.
I've never had a new vehicle, but I've always had a vehicle that is good enough for my family and gets me to point A and point B. Yep. And it's good enough to drive to wherever I got to work at.
I don't go nowhere extra.
Right? So you may have to be as a pilgrim, but it's always, there's nothing wrong with praying to not have to be like that. Mm-hmm. Right? So let's jump down to, let's go all the way down to, but you know what? Let's read 46 and then we'll jump to the end.
Verse 46. For strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captives. For in captivity and famine shall they get children.
So strangers are going to reap your fruits. They're going to steal your things. They're going to overthrow your houses. They're going to take your children captive. Look up how many children are missing right now. Just in 2023. Mm-hmm. Tens of thousands. Just in the United States. Around the world, it's probably millions. So you think the Most High just said things are going to get worse. Shit. Things are going to get worse and worse and worse. For in captivity and famine shall they get children. Right? When all these things are going on, let's say you got to leave the house, stay here. It's safer for you here. No, it's not.
Ain't safe for you nowhere unless the Most High keep it that way.
Right? So let's jump down to verse 71 or 70. Salakia.
Verse 70. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh. They shall be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh.
So there's going to be some people, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
Yep.
There's going to be some people, Yahuwah, Ahaya, what else? Yahweh.
Yahasha, something like that.
Yashish, I don't even know, right? Yah-oh, you heard about the Yah-oh? No?
Hell no.
In the Greek, it says Yah-oh. So a lot of people actually believe in the name. But the point that I'm making is there's going to be people that they may even have a little bit of fear for the Most High. But again, we're going to see in a second who are going to be the people that actually make it through. Because it says there's going to be some people that are spoiling and killing people. And that goes back to your lot, right? That's why Yahushua said, you should pray always what?
That ye shall be accounted worthy to escape the evils to come.
So,
and stand before the Son of Man.
So I know some brothers, maybe some brothers that aren't brothers, maybe some that are, that say, I'm going to die in Jacob's trouble. I'm going to get beheaded in Jacob's trouble.
I hope not.
Thou sayest. It might be, maybe the Most High is putting the spirit on you to say that because that's your lot. Maybe you're just saying that out of ignorance because that you heard another brother say it and you think it sounds cool.
Life and death in the power of the tongue.
But there you go. But life and death is in the power of the tongue. Me and my house, we're praying always, every day. I know the brother said too, every day, praying for it for each other. That because Yahushua.
I pray for you every single day, bro, and your whole family. I'm not even joking, dog. Like I literally I'm not even joking. That shit is not no game.
The water ditto. And especially when it comes to that though.
Hell yeah.
When it comes to, if our Messiah said pray always,
I be begging.
Pray always that you're accounted worthy to escape all the things all the things we're reading right now, all these things. Some people are like, you're fear mongering, you're putting fear in people. We're just reading what the scriptures say.
The scriptures putting fear in your ass.
If you get fearful of this, you're fearful of the Most High, right? That's like in Thessalonians where it says, if any man despise, they don't despise man, they despise the Most High, because the word comes from the Most High. It's the same thing with fear. I'm not trying to put fear in you, but if you fear what the scriptures say, then I highly suggest and encourage you to follow them so it doesn't come upon you and your family.
Absolutely.
Right? But so it says there's going to be people that fear the Most High, and these bad things are going to happen to them. Go ahead.
For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses.
Go ahead.
Then shall they be known, who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire.
So now think about this. I know, and this is one of the most prideful things I've ever heard anybody say that's in the truth, but a lot of people say this. Yeah, those brothers 2/3.
Shit, you don't know that?
That person's a bug out. You're gonna get destroyed. That is that's so prideful, bro. Like if they're promised the kingdom already.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they're the Most High, they're the judge, jury, and executioner.
Mm-hmm.
In the days of Jacob's trouble is when we're actually gonna know if we're chosen.
Oh yeah.
Right?
If you get, I can't even describe how we gonna know, but it just says we gonna know. Verse 74. Hear, O ye my beloved, saith Yahweh. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same.
So it says, hear this, my beloved, meaning those that love me and I love you. The days of trouble are at hand. Jacob's trouble is at hand, but I'm going to save you from it. Go ahead.
Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh is your guide.
Don't be afraid and don't doubt, because like we read in Hebrews 11:6, without faith, it's impossible to please him. Right? Go ahead.
And the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith Yahweh God. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves.
So he's going to save those people and guide those people who do what? Keep his commandments and his precepts, because I don't know how many times I've heard brothers and even sisters say, well, show me that in the law,
Cover to
right?
cover, buddy. Cover to cover.
So there is some things that, okay, maybe it's not in the Torah verbatim, like it's crazy because this brother, well, it doesn't say, and I'm not saying that this brother would do this, but like, well, it doesn't say you can't like smoke rock or you can't smoke weed or you can't, right? And I was just talking to the brother Nabala, which I already have a, I would say, a decent understanding on that whole thing. But he showed me some etymology and some other things as well, and I was like, man, thanks, brother, because you gave me so much more information on that subject. And again, that comes down to being humble. Mm-hmm. Like we can always learn. I can learn from this brother, even though he's been in the truth way less than me. Just like he can learn from me, he can learn from the next person. Like he just gave an example of his rib saying something.
Yeah, right? She taught me some real valuable shit.
Right. The other day, what was I going over? We were going over 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Because remember that dude that had said, I'm a sinner and I'm all this? Yeah. So basically, Paul said, he said, concerning the things that you wrote unto me, right? It's good for a man to have his own wife. So people take that and then they say, see, you have your own wife. If you have more than one, you're wicked. You're going to be destroyed. Repent.
They're all my own wives.
But then you jump down a few verses and it says, I speak this of permission, not commandment. Right? But anyways, I was talking to a sister about that, and she said something about it, and I was like, man, I've never heard anybody with that understanding on that verse. And it was completely true. Just another angle from it. Mm-hmm. And the point is, you can literally learn from anybody if you're humble enough to do so. And a lot of people that have been in this truth longer aren't humble to do so. Mm-hmm. Because they think they got it all figured out. But anyways, this is going to jump into one of those things that people don't want to accept. It says, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts. It says, let not your sins weigh you down. Right? So, like I mentioned in Acts 22 and 16, mm-hmm. It said, don't tarry to get baptized. Right? Get remission of sins. Mm-hmm. Get freed from your sins, because your sins weigh you down.
If you're bound to something, you're being held down.
You're being held down by it. So I remember, just like this brother said, just like I talked to many other brothers and sisters, and you can't really explain the feeling when you get baptized. Mm-hmm. But something I always hear multiple people say is you just feel like a weight is lifted off your spirit. Like, this is exactly what it's talking about. Let not your sins weigh you down. When you have real faith and you believe, when I get baptized, that's it. A clean slate, I start over. Yep. And then you have the works and you get in the water physically. Yep. That's the culmination of faith plus works. Yep. And now your sins aren't weighing you down.
You can really feel it too. It literally comes off of you. You feel like a whole new creature. Everything about you just feels like you completely zen. My rib even told me she felt like a bunch of weight came off of her.
And that's because when you truly believe, and the Most High sees that, and He's gonna, okay, He does believe in it. He or she did the physical work, and now you get to reap the benefits of it. That's why there's for keeping the commandments, you get blessed, and it's physical, right? So it's the same thing with that, and it's the same thing with Jacob's trouble. You're keeping the precepts, you're keeping the commandments, you're praying always that you're accounted worthy to miss all these things. You're being prudent, and you're preparing to the best of your ability. Because like we said in the beginning, everybody has a different lot. But if you got 2 talents to prepare, shouldn't you try to make them 4?
Shit, yeah.
Or should you use those 2 talents to go get a Mercedes?
Shit, I'm trying to turn them bad boys into folk.
Or should you use those 2 talents to go get baptized and get remission of sins? Or should you use those 2 talents to go on vacation?
Baptized.
It doesn't make sense, a lot of the things that people that claim the faith do. And this is not to poke at anybody, but it's to get people to self-reflect, which we all have to do on a daily basis.
It's like I posted the other day, and then we can keep going. But it was something I put on my story. It said, before the lesson teaches, it hurts first. And one of the hardest conversations, I've said it so many times, the hardest conversation, this is a proven fact, for anybody to ever have is a conversation with yourself about your bad habits that you might have and the problems that you might have. Whatever that may be, because it could be anything. But that's the hardest conversation for anybody to have.
But that's like in I knew a female that had to take Alcohol Anonymous. She had a little thing that said the first step to fixing your problem is admitting you have a problem.
Acknowledging that you got one.
Right? And it's true. It sounds like cheesy and cliche, but it's true.
I say that to my rib all the time. If we ever got to have a conversation, like, look, the first step is to acknowledge you got a problem. So
yeah, and it could be it could be something so easily fixed, or it could be something more difficult. It could be something you've been carrying around your whole life and you never dealt with it.
Yeah.
And now guess what? The chicken's coming home to roost.
Yeah, buddy.
When they sit on that roost,
they gonna roost.
And there's some shit's gonna come out, right?
Every time, and it's not gonna smell good.
Literally. But anyways, let's finish with Luke chapter 12.
Huh.
So we went over a lot of the verses from Jacob's trouble. We went over how preparing through, there's so many ways you could prepare through the old paths, right? And hold on, let me see this. Do you think you should buy guns? Stack up on guns.
So stacking up on guns. I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. I know people who stack up on guns and stuff like that, but I mean, I'm gonna ask a subjective question because everybody's mind is different. What is your intention on stacking up on it? Like, what do you like? What's your reasoning behind doing it? You know what I mean?
So let me give an example or a parallel to it, right? There's certain people. There's one person I used to know, and he was he had very low self-esteem. Let's put it that way. So he would only feel good when he was able to get with the chick, and then he feel good for a little while, and then he had to go get another chick, right? And the point that I'm making is there's people that do that with all different things. There's people that do that with weed, right? There's people that do that with all different things, with porn, with whatever your vice may be, right? But what it comes down to is you think that is going to give you that missing piece, right? That's going to fill that hole that you have. So the brother Azariah said, nothing wrong with purchasing a gun, Ak, but understand not to put your faith in that or any item.
Yep.
So there's a difference between, okay, I got a couple guns, right? And that's perfectly fine. But there's a problem when you think that your gun is alone is going to protect you. In the end, like we said, in the beginning and the end, and everywhere in between, the Most High is in charge of everything. He's in control of everything. Mm-hmm. He could make that gun misfire and go off in your hand and you lose your hand.
He could make that shit jam and not go off at all.
Exactly. He could make you pull the trigger one time and everybody in the damn room is dead that's evil.
Yep.
He could make anything happen.
And shit.
Right? So like the brother said, as long as you're not putting your faith in that. That's like another brother had asked me not too long ago, do you think it's bad for me to continue training boxing and blah, blah, blah? And I said, it can be, but it's not if you're not making that your idol.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I think of the book of Maccabees, how Judas Maccabees, when he was going around and he was slaying and Mattathias and them was slaying. There's nothing wrong with you having it, but who did they trust in the most of? It's before anything popped off, it said that he prayed to the Most High. Or matter of fact, it said the first thing he did was he told everybody to get ready. And then he prayed to the Most High before they went anywhere. And then they went forward, trusting that the Most High was going to allow them to make it through that situation by their faith and their works. You know what I mean?
Con. And that goes back to this. This is a precept. Proverbs 21 and 31. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of Yahweh.
Yep.
So there's nothing wrong with having a horse prepared in battle, right? But safety is of Yahweh. Because you have people that are super over righteous, and then you have people that are super carnal, right? You have people that'll say things like, if you got a gun, you're going off, fuck. You're gonna be destroyed.
You ain't got nothing against Esau and his war tactics,
right? Esau's blessing is the sword, Ak. If you have one, you're gonna be destroyed. But didn't David and Saul carry swords? Are they gonna be destroyed too?
Like, come on, didn't Abraham, you know what I'm saying, go fight?
So when you look at all the men of the old days, the majority of them were warriors and were fighting. But the point is, safety and the victory from the battles, they all knew was going to come from
Yahweh,
from the Most High. So like the brother just said, you have to make sure that your faith is in the Most High first and foremost, and not in any item or anything or any people, right? Because that's another big problem. A lot of people have their faith in people, and if you say anything against what this person said that they have their faith in, you're going off, and you're a bug out, and you're 2/3, and you're not gonna make it.
You're reprobate,
right? And I know because I've been called all these things, and it's only because I make them question what somebody says.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Clubhouse, brothers was talking, stacking up, go against Edom.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna respond to that. I'm just gonna say what the brother said. Azariah flights.
Yeah, there you go.
That's carnal.
Very carnal.
That's very carnal. The Most High is
like, come on, bro.
Yeah, that's carnal. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's beneath the Most High. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
That's all I'm gonna say is that's carnal. But we're gonna finish in Luke chapter 12, like I said, and we'll just read 47 and 48.
Con. Luke chapter 12, 47 and 48. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes.
So it says, if you know the Most High's will, and you don't what? Prepare yourself, and you don't do his will, you're going to be beaten with many stripes. Remember, we read scourges for amendment. Okay, you're going to be beaten with all these different curses and plagues that are coming. If you know his will and you don't do it, many stripes. Go ahead.
But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes.
So, but if you didn't know and you were going against the Most High, you still got to get punished.
Yep.
But guess what? You're not even going to get it as bad as the people that actually knew, because if, let's say, and it's funny because I was just talking to a sister about this as well. Like, if your child doesn't know something's wrong, say they're 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and they do something wrong, you're not going to go and scream your head off at them. They don't know that it's wrong. You're going to correct them. You might correct them sternly. Like, no, don't touch that. It can burn you. Right? But then once they know, if they keep going against it and keep going against it, then you may have to raise your voice.
Yep.
Then it might come to the point where you got to put them in timeout, and then it might come to the point where you got to spank them.
Yep.
Right? But there's levels to it. But the Most High actually, and this is why I've said it many times, it's very dangerous once you come into the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more.
So a seeing eye and a hearing ear, they both come from the Most High. That's Proverbs 20 and 12. Not many people have eyes to see and ears to hear. So if you have ears to hear the word and understand it's true and understand you're supposed to follow it, and you could see, you have eyes to see things spiritually, you're like, man, I just read this, and now look at this in the news, or look at this going on in the world. It's actually like exactly what's in the Bible. I'm reading this about certain type of women or certain type of men, and now I know 2, 3, 4, 5 people, maybe in my family, friends, right, that this explains perfectly. If you can see that and understand that, the Most High has given you much. So now that you've been given much, to whom much has been given, the Most High requires more of you now. When I first came into the truth, probably like the majority of people, the first couple of things you learn about is like keeping Sabbath, not eating pork, shrimp, etc. And once I started doing that, I was like, damn, like I'm not saying it or thinking it right, but in the back of your head, you're kind of thinking like, I'm kind of righteous, you know, like I'm doing good,
you start feeling better,
right? But then you learn a little more, and then you learn a little more, and from my experience, people that fall out the truth, it's when they hit that plateau, kind of, right? When they don't want to do more. Yeah, I'm learning more, but it's like, damn, the more I read, the more I gotta change. Yeah. The more I just read this, I don't even want to read no more. This says I gotta cut off all these wicked people, but man, I love these people, right? So the more that you learn, the more dangerous it can be for you.
Man, that's some scary shit though. It's just like getting water baptized. You don't get a second get out of jail free card. You only get one.
And I tell people now, that's why I always tell people that now. It's like, are you ready? Yeah, Khan, I'm
Are
good.
you sure you
I'm
want
ready.
this?
Are you sure? Because look, I baptized people myself that are no longer in the truth, and I've sat around and talked to the Most High, like, man, I know it, in the end I'm at peace because I know the Most High's will be done no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've had those conversations in the past where it's like, man, if I wouldn't have baptized them at that time, they could be baptized now, and I could think of all the wicked things that have come to pass since they've been baptized.
Yep.
Right? So we just have to be very, very vigilant, circumspect in learning, because the more you learn, the more is required of you. And if you know His will and you continue to go against it, you're just stacking up these stripes that are going to come against you.
And it's going to be something that cannot be cured.
Right? Exactly. And it actually says that in Jeremiah 30, where it's talking about Jacob's trouble. It says your bruise is uncurable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's you. There's no remedy, is what it says. So with that, Most High willing, this edified at least one person. Like it says in Luke, I believe it's 15:10. It says that all the angels in heaven rejoice when one sinner turns to repentance. So if this lesson, any lesson, anything me or this brother ever talk about post that's from the Most High helps one person to repent, then all the angels in heaven are rejoicing. We know the Most High ain't a God of numbers, or else He would have just made everybody to be vessels to honor, right? So Yahweh Ratzazah, it helped at least one person. If it was His will, even more. With that, I'll say Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah to all you brothers and sisters that are striving to follow the word in truth and in sincerity, that are being prudent spiritually, mentally, physically. You have anything to add, Ak?
Honestly, man, I mean, the Ogden pretty much said everything. The only thing I'm going to say is what I've been saying. You know, everything I ever post about is always about faith and works and about pursuing the old paths. I know a lot of people ain't going to want to do it. They're not going to do it because obviously the Most High is not a God of numbers. But for those who have ears to hear, and you have the ability and the time and the chance and the opportunity to come out of the major cities before things get way too bad, take advantage so you are not regretful down the road. It's obviously not a guarantee that we're going to make it to the kingdom or it's going to save us, but it will, according to the scriptures, lessen your impact of what's going to happen.
And according to the scriptures, seeking the old path, you will find rest for your soul. We read, what, 2 or 3 precepts that said, seek peace. That peace and rest are the same thing. Right? The brother said, so Jacob's trouble is the unlimited faith test. Con.
Shit, yeah.
But guess what? Every test that I've taken, I either prepared for or I regretted that I didn't prepare for.
Most definitely.
Right? So with that, I'll say shalom to all you brothers and sisters. Most High willing, we'll be on here again pretty soon, since your internet's working good. My internet's horrible. This brother, Most High bless this brother with some good internet.
For the low
Con. But shalom to the 12 tribes. All praise to the Most High as always.
Shalom.